Tonight from Candlestick Park, NBC Sports presents the 1987 National League Championship Series. It's the St. Louis Cardinals versus the San Francisco Giants. Hi, everybody. I'm Vin Scully, along with Joe Garagiola. Welcome to Candlestick Park in Game 3 of the National League Championship Series, all tied at 1 apiece between the Giants and Cardinals. For the visiting St. Louis Cardinals, they can look back to the last week in July and hit a low spot. That would be a 4-game sweep by the Giants here at Candlestick Park. So what about the general, Whitey Herzog? Has he forgotten about that as he sends Joe McGrain to the mound against Atlee Hammaker? And what about Jack Clark? That has to be on his mind constantly. We'll find out all about that right now and go to Joe.
Okay, Vin. Whitey, how different will you play in this ballpark?
Well, actually, this isn't a bad ballpark to play in. We've had some good games here. I think what everybody's reflecting on is the last time we were out here, we played bad baseball. We actually gave them 4 ball games. They didn't play that good. We just played bad.
How about this rumor, or whatever you want to call it, about sign stealing and all that going on, and Craig supposedly stealing your signs?
Well, Roger's pretty good at that, but basically, I give a guy a green light. We don't have a sign when we're running, and I did tell my players before the series, if it's Coleman or Ozzie Smith or somebody, that he likes to pitch out 0-2, and he likes to pitch out 1-2, and the other day, I told him not to run on those particular things. Coleman's on first base, 2 outs, 0-2, and Ozzie, he goes, they pitch out, and all of a sudden they say, I got a sign, but we didn't have a sign.
Whitey, good luck to you tonight.
Well, I hope that we can hang on here a little bit and maybe get Jack Clark in the lineup by Tuesday, and then we might be all right.
There it is, Vin.
Unbeknownst to Whitey, while he was chatting with Joe, Terry Pendleton announced that he would have to be taken out of the starting lineup. Yesterday, in a workout here at Candlestick Park, Terry Pendleton, running around friskily on the grass, stumbled, slipped, and fell down and hurt his left ankle. And Pendleton, who thought he might be able to play today, now has issued the word he cannot start. What that means is the Cardinal lineup is really suffering. Not only the absence of Jack Clark, Jim Lindemann will be hitting in the cleanup spot for only the 2nd time this year. He did it way back in April. Tom Lawless will make his first start of the year at third base, replacing a man who's missed maybe a half a dozen games in 2 years. And to show you what kind of work Lawless has had, he had his first hit of the year in August and his 2nd hit on the final day of the season. We'll get to that starting lineup for both teams and a lot more, all coming up right after this. Concerned, a cloudless sky overhead and sunshine washing the stands from center all the way around to right. Flags hanging limply as Atlee Hammaker is loosening up to his battery mate Bob Brenly. Hammaker 10-10. He was 1-1 against the Cardinals this year, 1-3 lifetime. He does particularly well here at Candlestick. He was 9-2 this year. He is 26-11 lifetime, and in his last 9 starts at the stick, as they call it here, he has won 7 without a lane. The pitcher, Dave Pallone, the plate umpire, was over in the corner of the Giant dugout.
Looks like it's affecting Hammaker. He wants to get going. You know, he's all pumped up. He wants to get this start. As far as his stuff, he's got a good sinker, slider, hasn't been using his split finger too much, and he's a control pitcher. He's got to get that ball down.
In fact, the time that he lost to the Cardinals, he walked 6 men in 6 innings. Oh, here we go. Ground ball smothered by Kevin Mitchell to Getty.
The difference in the grass. If that's on artificial surface, it's a 2-base hit. You really have to shoot that ball through there. Didn't get a chance to talk about it, but Mitchell reacts, backhands it, and with a strong arm gets Coleman, and what a shot in the arm that is for the Giant ball club. And you know the Cardinals are wondering, what do we have to do? He really reacts quickly to this one.
Marvelous play by Kevin Mitchell. 2 things to keep in mind about the infield: the thickness of the grass and the wet dirt. Strike Ozzie Smith. There's nothing illegal about the wet dirt. What happens here when the wind comes up, it blows the topsoil off the infield into the box seats. so they always wet it down. However, back in 1962, in a big confrontation against Maury Wills, they literally drowned the infield that day.
And they keep that front of home plate the way they want it.
Fouled away, 1-2 the count, Ozzie. Interesting when you look at Atlee Hammaker, perhaps his lowest point in his professional career. Remember, he pitched the 1983 All-Star game, gave up the only grand slam in Star history to Freddie Lynn at Chicago. His manager that night, sure, Whitey Herzog. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. For the Cardinals to come to Candlestick, St. Louis indelibly written into the history books involved with Candlestick Park, or as the Stick as they call it here. Ball 3. The first game ever played here, opening day at Candlestick, April the 12th, 1960. And the Giants played the Cardinals and won 3-1. Hard to believe it is the second oldest ballpark in the National League. 3-2 to Ozzie Smith. And that's promptly hit into left field. And there's another note we had given you on game 1, that Ozzie is the best 3-2 hitter on the team. He hits over 400 when he gets the count 3-2, and he lives up to that. And that makes Mitchell's play even more important.
Yes, it does. And one of the things you want to watch with Hammaker, they have to keep him really settled down, because he's one of those fellas that he'll remember the previous pitch. And on the 2-2 pitch that went high, he walked around the mound, started talking to himself, and that's the one thing he does. He'll fight himself, and it's Brentley's job and his manager and coaches to keep him from doing that. Forget that pitch and go get him with the next one.
Ozzie Smith is a threat to run. After all, he stole 43 bases during the regular year. Tommy Herr, kind of a hit-and-run man, and the breaking ball to strike. For the Cardinals, they have not had a stolen base yet, and this is the 3rd game. The only time this year they went 3 games without a stolen base was back on April 12, 13, and 14.
They can run on Hammaker. He does not have that good a move. They've been working on it, but he does not have that good a move because he gives you a lot of upper body movement.
Interesting, Hammaker and McGrain, each pitcher with 7 balks, so they both have a lot of trouble with runners. In there, strike 2. Tommy Herr is 1 for 8. He has had 5 of those 8 at-bats as a right-hand hitter. We're just starting up. Coleman lost a hit on a fine play by Mitchell. Ozzie Smith singled, and here's Tommy Herr with Jim Lindemann on deck. Ozzie's leaning but not moving. And there's a ball hit into right center, but Chili Davis on the run makes the catch. He can double up Ozzie. He's got him.
Bad base running by Ozzie Smith. That ball was not hit in the gap.
And the Cardinals come up.
Here's Ozzie Smith. Now, he sees the ball that's in front of him. He just goes too far, which is not good base running and certainly not typical of Ozzie. He sees he's in trouble right here. It's not even close. The ball was not hit on the line. That's what surprised me. It was like a high fly ball.
I think it's an indication, too, of perhaps the mental attitude of the Cardinals, knowing that they don't have very much firepower and perhaps trying to force something and make something happen. And Ozzie just got too adventuresome. Meanwhile, Chili Davis made a good play, but certainly not a great play.
It's been a real tough inning as we look at Chili Davis. A tough inning for the Cardinals because Coleman's robbed of a base hit and then the base running play, and it's 1-2-3, and they had 2 balls hit hard. Smith's ball and the ball by Coleman.
Needless to say, a great deal of pressure on young Joe McGrain. He doesn't figure to get a lot of runs. He's in enemy territory, but the big left-hander is 9-7. He's 6'6" and 230. And he had been a magnificent pitcher just when the Cardinals need him. He got him out to a 5-0 record, and the last 5 weeks, 3-1. Probably pitched the most important game of his life when he shut out Montreal 1-0 in the doubleheader in St. Louis. Robbie Thompson with the count 1 ball and no strikes. Fastball that seemed to run away, ball 2. 2-0 the count to Robbie Thompson, followed by Kevin Mitchell and then Jeffrey Leonard. And he's behind 3-0. When McGrain got got his first Major League start. He defeated the Mets, and it was his first and Whitey Herzog's 1,000th win as a manager. In there, 3-1.
He doesn't have any trick pitches. It's a fastball, a curveball, and sometimes when he chokes that curveball, gets a little bit too tight, it'll react like a slider.
3-1 pitch to Robbie Thompson. A little high, and he's aboard. So McGrain walking Robbie Thompson, and the batter will be Kevin Mitchell. Thompson stole 16 bases during the regular year, and Kevin Mitchell, as he checks in, brings up some sock. He had a total of 22 home runs. He'd 1 for 9. Remember, we told you McGrain and Hamaker have had a lot of trouble with base runners. Opponents have stolen 19 in 22 attempts, and like Hamaker, he has 7 balks in trying to hold them on. 2 of those were called trying to keep the Giants quiet. 1 ball, no strikes. High fly ball into center. Going back is McGee on the track at the wall. He has it. And Robbie Thompson back to first.
McGee, a lot of room out there, 400 feet, and he's got it all the way. He finds himself, knows where that ball is, picks it up and makes the play.
Boy, don't you love a major league ball player looking to see where the fence was in enemy territory and still able to turn back and unerringly pick the ball off.
That's the difference. That's the major leaguer.
It makes it look so easy. 1 down, and here is Jeffrey Leonard. Leonard has a chance to get his name with some illustrious company should he hit a home run. Henry Aaron and Gary Matthews are the 2 men to have hit home runs in 3 straight LCS games, and of course he's homered in the first 2. Looked like a change.
It was straight change. He just pulled something off that.
There they are. Aaron in 69, Matthews in 83, Madlock in 85. And there goes Thompson, foul ball, as they put on a hit-and-run play. And they count 1 ball and 1 strike.
Ben, I just wonder if this series, Cardinals and Giants, going to turn into a Craig and Herzog situation.
Oh, I think it already has.
I mean, even more so. Here you got your third-place hitter up there, and you're putting hit-and-run plays on, and we're talking about stealing signs and pitch-outs and squeeze plays. We might see a little personal thing going here.
There's a great deal of professional pride and ego amongst the players and between the managers. 1 ball, 1 strike. Thompson not going. 2 balls, 1 strike. McGrain throws a breaking ball, and Mike Rourke was saying it is really a breaking ball and not a slider. It's just a hard curve.
A hard curve. When he chokes it, it reacts like a slider. Well, here is the pretty good spot to run him. He ran him before.
Manager's pitch. 2 balls and 1 strike. Thompson held on by Lindemann. And Robbie's going. And the fastball is smothered by Lindemann for a great play. Thompson rounded the bag, but a bad throw. They had him dead to rights, and Jim threw behind Tommy Herr.
I don't think he really saw him, and if he did, he didn't react to it because he was almost surprised. He's getting a little disgusted, as you see. He makes a tremendous play because Leonard hits the ball off the handles. He doesn't really drill this ball. He hits it softly, but Lindemann breaking off the bag makes a great one. Now he sees him, and he hesitates. You can see, and this is where he loses the play.
I think what confused him, he had both Herr and Ozzie coming to the bag, and for a split second, it appeared as if Jim Lindemann wasn't sure to whom to throw the ball, and then by the time he opted for Herr, it was too late. So here's Candy Maldonado. Ball 1.
When Leonard hits the ball badly, he sure hits in some good spots.
Isn't that the truth?
Look at this. I mean, he has to make a great play to keep it from a 2-base hit, and Robbie Thompson scores easily if it gets by Lindemann.
So Thompson at second with 2 out. 1 ball and no strikes to Maldonado. Ball 2, 2-0. Candy hit almost 350 on the road, but didn't hit 250 at home. And it figured he had a good series in St. Louis. trying to get out of the jam with Robbie Thompson at second and 2 down. Hit foul outside of first and down the line.
Then our vantage point directly behind home plate, and I know watching batting practice in St. Louis, Jose Morales was trying to get Maldonado not to be so close with that back foot back, and he's really got him moved up, preaching to him that stride into the ball towards the pitcher and hit that thing from center field to right center. If it comes inside, you're still able to pull it. He has him moved without a big closed stance.
2 balls, 1 strike. And that's hit right back, and McGrain makes a good play and throws him out. 2 dazzlers by Lindeman at first, and on that comebacker to McGrain. And at the end of an inning, we're well underway. Joe McGrain helped himself with that comebacker by Maldonado, and now he has a few words with Tony Pena.
I'm sure they're going over some of the pitches and some of the great plays that had to be made in that inning. Tell you, interesting inning.
Well, when you look at it, Coleman is robbed by Mitchell, and then Tommy Herr on a hit-and-run play. Ozzie Smith runs it into a double play in the bottom of the first. Lindeman makes a great play on Leonard, and then McGrain has to make a good play on a comebacker to get out of the inning. That's inning number 1. Jim Lindeman, followed by Willie McGee, and then Tony Pena. And he bangs one to the left of Uribe, and Jose gets him.
Tell you, Ben, the tip-off is that Lindeman is hitting 4th. They have a punch-and-Judy club, the Cardinals do. If you hit 5 home runs, you're out of it. Pendleton, for example, started in and he's out of it. The guys who are in it, Ozzie Smith, Ford, Pena, Lake, Coleman, Lindeman.
Well, to give you an idea, Will Clark has 35 home runs. That's more home runs than the entire Cardinals starting team. So they're going to have to do it another way. The entire Cardinal lineup has hit 30 home runs. And McGee is a classic case of a fellow playing injured with a bad left wrist and thumb, and this is when he is particularly vulnerable as a right-handed batter. 0-1.
Brenly says that Hamaker's stuff is such that until he gets 2 strikes and it's optional whether he moves around, he'll just stay right behind the plate, directly behind it, let him throw it, and let the ball move where it wants to go.
No balls, 2 strikes to Willie McGee. Fouled away. Hamaker, a few years ago, before he came up with all the shoulder problems, struck out 14 in a game against the Astros. This year, his high, he struck out 8 against a very good right-hand hitting lineup, Montreal.
He's really pitching McGee the way he wants to. 2 strikes, and he'll try to break the curveball in on that back foot.
0-2. Hit foul off to the right and out of play. Just to give you the dimensions here at Candlestick, 335 down the lines. Pretty short in left and right center, 365, and only 400 feet to straightaway center. At Busch Stadium, it's 414. Thick grass and usually a swirling wind, which really complicates what would otherwise be routine fly balls. 4-1.
They've used so many examples of the wind, you can go on for an hour and a half. Kruko says they don't even look at the flags. They watch the hot dog wrappers. If they blow to the left, that's the way it's going. And blow to the right, that's the way it's going.
Well, the key word here is swirl. You can be fooled if you just look at the flags, because the flags can be going in one direction, but then the wind swirls around the saucer. Half swing, and down goes Willie.
And that's one thing as a player, any pop fly, if you think it's heading for the stands, you better make sure it lands in the stands.
1 down, now 2, and Tony Pena coming up. Here's another look. And very painful, I'm sure, for Willie to try and check with that bad left wrist.
And low and inside, out of the zone.
So with 2 down in the second inning, quiet Willie sits down, and Tony Pena at the plate. No score, top of the second inning. Show you a thing about the wind here, and we'll keep it in mind throughout the 3 games. When Casey Stengel took his young New York Mets team up here for the first time, instead of hitting infield ground balls before the game, he hit pop flies. And they asked Casey after the game, I never saw an infield take pop flies instead of ground balls. And Casey said, why not? All the trouble with the balls hit in the air. But so far, pretty quiet.
asked Pena about that little movement he makes with the right arm, that little chicken wing thing that he does, a la Joe Morgan. And what it is, it's a reminder to keep his arms in close. He says, when I do that, then it reminds me to keep him in, and I got my bat in the proper position. Hasn't helped him much.
No. He missed a sign the other day. There's been a lot of talk about how the Giants have throttled the Cardinal running game, but actually the Cardinals haven't had a running game to throttle. There was that bad choice of pitches when Coleman ran 0-2, which is against Whitey's orders, and when Pena was thrown out a pitch out the other day, it was a busted sign. He misread it. He was going as if it was a steal, and they nailed him. But then Whitey said, well, it's understandable he hadn't been on base enough times this year to know the signs. And a tough year since the trade for Tony Pena. And he drives one to center. Chili Davis with that ball over his head to the track and makes the catch at the 400-foot sign. And the Cardinals are gone in order. And at the end of an inning and a half, no score.
Well, there are two teams that are trying to get into the World Series. Both teams want it very badly, and you know, I don't really think they were supposed to be out here liking the other team all that much. You know, we want something and they want something, and that makes for a good series, I hope.
Well, Tommy, I think you got a good series on the way, especially what a beginning we've had to Game 3.
And I think he said it best. I mean, you try to build up a big rivalry. Hey, both ball clubs want to get to the World Series. I mean, you're not trying to win a Nobel Peace Prize, so.
So in the bottom of the second inning, it'll be Chili Davis, then Will Clark, and Bob Brenly. You know, we talked about the Cardinals and the Giants. Here's that play by Chili Davis on the long shot hit by Tony Pena. We've had a couple of nice plays as we go to the bottom of the second, no score. And Pena comes up empty. Chili Davis, a switch hitter, one of 3 in the Giant lineup tonight. Ball 1-0. Into the left field corner. It was a changeup, and chasing the ball is Vince Coleman, and Chili Davis into second base with a double.
It was an off-speed pitch in a real bad spot. He got that ball above the waist, and that is really dangerous territory when you do that. And Chili just waited on it and drills it down the left field line.
So now the Giants have a runner at second and nobody out, with Clark, Brenly, and Uribe trying to pick him out.
McGrain has been behind all 5 hitters, and that's really asking for trouble.
Will Clark with 3 hits in the series, including a home run and 2 runs batted in. Ozzie Smith trying to bird dog his runner and drive him back to the bag. Right-hand hitter Bob Brenly to follow. And a fake by McGrain. So they're trying to really put a squeeze on Chili Davis from the mound and also at shortstop.
Got to cut down that lead so they get a chance for a play at the plate.
Ozzie behind him again. Breaking ball away. 1 ball and no strikes.
With that center field shot, you get a good view of what we talk about when we say that if the pitcher sees daylight, the infielder gets in between the base runner in the bag and there's daylight, turn and throw. It's really not that set of play, it's just routine.
1-0. Fastball picked up the corner, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. So Joe McGrain. Back in spring training, Joe McIlvaine of the New York Mets picked Joe McGrain as a prime candidate to be the Rookie of the Year. Boy, what outstanding ability he had. 1-1. He's off the rubber. Out of Des Moines, Iowa. When he pitched up here in May, he sprained an ankle, but he did pick up his 3rd win of the year in that game. There's a shot up the middle. That's a base hit, and here comes Chili Davis to score, and the Giants draw first blood.
got through there, you knew that Chili Davis would score easily for a couple reasons. First of all, the outfielders have to charge that ball because that grass will slow it down. And once they pick it up and make their throw, it's not going to skip off that grass like it does the artificial surface. Once he gets it through there.
When Clark hits the ball and it leaves the infield, once it gets by the infield, it almost dies of exhaustion.
You got to charge that ball. He can't really get it, and Clark, he's watching that RBI. He knows it's going to score.
So it is 1-0 San Francisco, and Bob Brenly with Clark going, and a hit-and-run fly ball down the right field line. It's going to land for a base hit. Oquendo comes up with it, but here comes Clark, and he is going to score on a hit-and-run double by Bob Brenly.
And you really have to give Zimmer a lot of credit on that. He was waving Clark in all the way. He's one of the more aggressive coaches. And once Oquendo picks up the ball and he had to brace himself against the bullpen down there, Zimmer had Clark coming all the way.
For Whitey Herzog, certainly the last thing he wanted to happen is to have the Giants score first and score a couple against a Cardinal team that certainly doesn't figure to generate many runs tonight.
Look how far up the line Zimmer is. He's still not in the picture. In fact, we don't get him, but there he is. Look at there. He was about 6 feet from home plate, because if Clark comes to third base and he's looking for the coach, he knows, hey, I must go find him. And Zimmer was way up the line here, making sure that Clark would score.
When you get down into the right field corner here, watch Oquendo. He's carried right into the bullpen shack. He finally regroups and almost throws it by Lindemann, but there was still no chance for a relay.
Ben, I'm not so sure that Oquendo thought he was sure he had the ball. It looked like when he came off that shack, like he was looking for the ball. We'll watch him on this. Now, watch when he comes up with it. Now, watch what he does. He looks for the ball.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and it's in his glove, but by that time, Zimmer had the green light going.
In so many of those big trap mitts that the fielders use, look at that thing. It's like a shopping basket, or you can have the ball in there and not be aware of it. So a double by Davis, a single by Clark, and a double by Brenly, and the Giants lead 2-0. Ball one. Mike Rourke was out to the mound to talk to McGrain to try and settle him down. Uribe trying to move his man along with Atlee Hammaker on deck. 1 ball and no strikes. 2-0 Giants. Second inning. A change, and that's lifted to left field and carrying. Coleman going back, away back, slips and makes the catch. Tagging up at second is Brenly to move to third.
And once again, I had my eyes glued on Zimmer because he is an aggressive coach. Brenly was watching the play, and Zimmer, and who's talking to him now, he kept motioning to him, go back, and tag up. And he picks up a big base.
And what a big play by Vince Coleman. The grass is very thick and very wet, and watch what happens to Vince as he turns to get under the ball. His foot went right out from under him. A marvelous play to come up with it.
And when Brenly sees the catch being made, he comes on over. I tell you, it's just a different ball game on the grass as opposed to the artificial surface.
And now the Cardinals find themselves really in trouble with a runner at third and 1 out in the second inning. Now you're thinking squeeze. Hammaker had only 2 sacrifice bunts all year, and both of those came as a right-handed batter. So let's see if he's going to try and squeeze Brenly in, and we'll see what Whitey dictates to McGrain and Pena. A pitch out is what they dictate, just to take a look. 1 ball and no strike. Hammaker checking with Zimmer to see if that squeeze might be on.
Wouldn't be surprised to see another one out there, but I don't think he will.
Well, the count. Atlee Hammaker with Brenly at third. Brenly is not coming. Breaking ball strike, and the count 1-1. Whenever you're in the ballpark and you have a situation for a squeeze, the one man who's going to finally tell you about it is the runner at third. Like Rob Thompson, Robbie said that he actually turned around too soon on the busted squeeze play in St. Louis. And Brenly fakes, but he's not coming on a full swing foul, and the count 1-2. Roger Craig up by 2 here in the second inning. with a healthy ball club. Whitey Herzog with a Cardinal team that is limping, to say the least, and they were limping ever since Game 1 when they lost Danny Cox.
Tell you, Whitey's going out there with a BB gun to get that elephant.
1-2 the count to Hammaker. Fouled away on a full swing. Brenly wasn't sure. He thought he might come on in, but Dave Pallone indicated foul ball.
Ben, I've never done this to you before.
What's that?
That was very charitable, that full swing you just called there.
Yeah. It was his full swing.
His full swing.
1-2.
He's not known as a power hitter, Hammaker.
And he's taking another look at Don Zimmer. His lifetime batting average is less than a buck. 0.99. Brenly is not coming, and there is his full swing. So Adley Hammaker down on strikes. For Joe McGrain, his first strikeout. 2 down, and Robbie Thompson coming up.
I think Hammaker's in that category where he strikes out and keeps the inning alive.
Second baseman.
2 down here in the second. The Giants leading the Cardinals 2-0. And Robbie Thompson, who walked in the first inning, starting on. And you can see that's a very impressive credential to bring up there. We'll see what McGrain does with him. Kevin Mitchell on deck. Breaking ball low, a fake by Pena, and for good reason. I think we mentioned it in Game 1, but it bears repeating in this instance. Bob Brenly, a catcher, but he stole home this year. He runs well, as does Pena. 1 ball and no strikes.
The key, of course, is stealing any bases to get a good jump, get a good lead. Brenly, especially for a catcher, has really been able to work himself up pretty good. He gets a good lead from third with 2 outs.
He stole 10 bases during the regular year, including a home against San Diego. It's enough to make you think. Fastball, and a good one that seemed to be tailing away, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. 2 of the more memorable games in history at Candlestick Park were between the Giants and the Cardinals. Back in 1968, on the 17th of September, Gaylord Perry pitched a no-hitter against the Cardinals. Next day, Ray Washburn of St. Louis did it to the Giants. 1-1. In the dirt, and did it hit the batter? That's the question. The Cardinals are going to maintain that it hit Robbie Thompson, but Brenly is going to score.
He started.
You will argue.
He started to first base, Robbie Thompson, but then he came back. They're going to ask, and the second base umpire says, no. Whitey's going to argue. Very interesting, Ben, because Robbie Thompson started up the line, and then when the ball got by, now Whitey, you see, is arguing. He wants to ask the first base umpire.
The first thing Pallone did with the ball was look at it to see perhaps if there was any shoe polish on it. Whitey certainly thought that it hit him. And now he's... So Joe McGrain evidently is going to be down 3-0, although the Cardinals continue to appeal to Dave Pallone.
And while they're arguing, we saw Zimmer mark the spot for Brenly to take a lead, and it was a big lead. You wonder if that was distracting.
Let's take a look at that pitch.
And watch Robbie Thompson after the pitch.
Back foot, if anything.
If anything. But watch Robbie. Look at him. He's starting for first base.
Oh, my gosh.
He started. That's it. That's the tip-off right there to hit him.
2-1 to count. Ground ball up along third, foul, and the count 2-2.
I'm surprised Whitey let him go that easily, because I'll tell you, Robbie, you react. Now, here's another shot. We may be able to see if it hits him. If it did, it hit him on the foot. But the tip-off, to me, is right there. Look at him throwing his bat away, and then he sees the run's going to score. He says, hey, I'll take the time at bat anytime
just
for a
loosening
run.
up.
Yeah.
2-2. And that one's to the screen, ball 3. McGrain, by the way, led the Cardinals with 10 hit batters. In fact, the next closest on the staff, Danny Cox, only had 3. However, he is wild, this young man. 9 wild pitches and 7 balks during the regular year. He's only 23. And there is ball 4, so that's the second time, and Whitey has to figure this is a bad way to start. 3-0 San Francisco, and the batter will be Kevin Mitchell. Roger Craig has seen his club come up with 2 doubles and a single, plus a wild pitch. Whitey standing quietly with Coach Nick Leyva, and here's Mitchell, who flied deep to center in the first inning. Robbie Thompson, you remember, went to second after Jim Lindeman made a great stop with a ball hit by Jeffrey Leonard.
Robbie Thompson somewhat under the weather, but he says he's all right. He's going to play.
Don Zimmer, the third base coach, has a touch of the flu as well. 2 down, second inning, 3-0 San Francisco. And there goes Robbie. The throw to Lindeman, who juggles, then throws late. Well, Lindeman could not get it out of his mitt, and then hurried it and couldn't get him.
They've got him picked off, no question about it, but he can't get the ball out of that big glove. See, it's a housing development in there. And the throw off line, not even close.
So a stolen base, and remember, during the regular year, they stole 19 out of 22 tries. So that is a definite area where the Giants figure to exploit McGrain's weakness.
The Giants use a play where they use a one-way lead and then draw a throw and then go. He's going to ask for the trainer to come out. Looks like he might have something in his eye.
Whitey, of course, coming into the league championship series with only 8 pitchers. So the last thing he can afford to do is to have somebody get out in front by a bunch where he has to get into his bullpen and air it out.
That was the decision he made as we watched the trainer working on Robbie Thompson. It's maybe one of those situations, Ben, if he gets a blowout where he's going to have to ask somebody to stand out there and take a beating.
Well, Bob Forsch, the veteran, is down in the Cardinal bullpen loosening up. And Robbie Thompson trying to clean up. Here's another look at Robbie's go, and they had him dead to rights. He was really hung out to dry, but Lindeman just couldn't make the play.
That's a throwback to the old Branch Rickey days. The first move the pitcher makes, you break for a second and don't stop. Just keep on going. That's what he did.
Kevin Mitchell trying to pick him up. Ball 1, 1-0. McGrain got out of the first inning on his own good play, as well as the one by Lindeman. But he's in a lot of trouble here facing his 7th man. Ball 2. There's a throw by Pena to her, not in time. That also brings up a point. There are a lot of tough throws when you play at Candlestick. You don't get to skip off the grass as you would on AstroTurf. But maybe the toughest throw in baseball when the wind is blowing is by the catcher trying to throw out towards second base. It really is like throwing a ping pong ball in a windstorm. It'll go any which way. Change and hit to third. Tom Lawless gets it over, and the inning is over. Well, the Giants post a big 3 and lead 3-0. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Game 3 of the 1987 National League Championship Series is brought to the third inning with the Giants leading the Cardinals 3-0. Jose Aquindo has 1 home run this year. He hit it in Candlestick Park. Ball 1. He has 2 home runs in the major leagues in his years in the majors, both against the Giants and both here at Candlestick. Check swing foul. His home run against the Giants this year in July was the only pinch home run the Cardinals had all year, and he hit it against Craig Lefferts. 1-1 to Jose Aquindo. Hit to the left of Uribe, and he's there. He had to kind of double clutch before he threw it. 1 away. Once again, we remind our viewers we'll be selecting the NBC Miller Lite Player of the Game at the conclusion of the ball game. More than just about any other place we can think of, the weather plays such a part in the games here, and we're going to chart it. You can see the wind has leveled at 12, and the temperature now, local time, has gone back to where it was at 11 o'clock this morning. But as the day progresses and throughout the series, we might have an interesting story as far as the weather conditions at Candlestick. Tom Lawless. He has 2 hits this year. He waited until August when he got a hit. Of course, John Vukovich one year waited until August before he had an at-bat. So Lawless at least got the hit in August, and then his second hit was a ground rule double on the last day of the season.
What do you figure he's making? About $102,000? That's about, what, $51,000 a hit. You talk about inflation.
1-1. Fisted foul off to the right out of play. Kind of interesting that Tom Lawless, who has 2 hits in the entire season, was once involved in a deal for another player who collected the greatest number of hits in the history of the game. Pete Rose. Tom Lawless. Boy, that's a tough job, too. You know, he never gets a chance to play, so if you don't play, you can't play.
Well, and tonight he was out in left field when they couldn't even get his attention. Red Schoendienst ended up hitting a fungo towards him and getting his attention, motioned him in. That's when Whitey told him. And we understand that Pendleton, he went bonkers in the clubhouse because he wanted to play so badly, but he just couldn't move. We were watching him during taking ground balls, and he just couldn't move.
1-2 to Tom. 2 balls and 2 strikes with Joe McGrain on deck. Lawless, although he has not played very much, nevertheless has always done well against the Giants. In his career, he's hit over .450 against San Francisco. 2-2. Hits it hard, but right at Uribe.
I tell you, with this grass, you're just not going to get that ball through there hitting it like that. And then interesting thing is to watch these outfielders when the Cardinal hitters come in, they all move up.
Here comes Joe McGrain. Big Joe brings up quite a strike zone. He's 6'6". He has a good sense of humor. He hit a home run in September against Scott Sanderson. And when he hit the home run, he tripped and missed first base. He had to go back and touch the bag. And when he came in the dugout, they were all over him about missing the bag. And he said, "I didn't miss the bag. I just took an alternate route."
College graduate.
0-1. Hit foul off first in the count. 0-2.
I think he's one of Jerry Kendall's boys out of the University of Arizona. That's the commissioner's official party.
Another foul out of play. You're right, Joe. He was at the University of Arizona. In fact, he hurled a no-hitter against the eventual NCAA champion Cal State Fullerton in 1984. Boy, is he an impressive-looking young pitcher. Joseph David McGrain. 0-2.
He puts it in focus. He said, "Hey, this is just another game, except they ask you so many questions. They want to know everything, even your dental records." He's got it in focus. He's going to be all right.
Giants 3, Cardinals nothing, and Adley Hammaker has things in focus. And there's a pop fly, Uribe and Thompson. It will be Thompson. So Hammaker is through 3 innings and allowed just 1 hit. And at the end of 2.5, Giants 3, Cardinals nothing.
A perfect murder.
Making skin flicks becomes a deadly business when a director commits murder on film.
Look at it!
Next Friday.
Magnificent view from looking down upon Candlestick Park, provided by the Goodyear Blimp Columbia. From Los Angeles, the pilot is Captain Tom Matters from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It took the Columbia 2 days to travel from Los Angeles to Candlestick Park at a speedy 29 miles per hour.
He'd never make it on the freeways. We look at the Hall of Famer Joe DiMaggio visiting with the National League president Abe Bartlett Giamatti. Joe D.
When you come to San Francisco, seeing Joe is like seeing the, I don't know, the Coit Tower or the Golden Gate Bridge.
This is Joe D country, isn't it?
Is it ever? Well, the Giants now with Jeffrey Leonard, Candy Maldonado, and Chili Davis. 3-0, and Joe McGrain struggling in the first 2 innings and roughed up for 3. Leonard, you remember, fisted one inside first base. Jim Lindemann made a fine play in the first inning. 4-1. 1-0. Jeffrey never in a hurry, especially when he hits one out.
Oh, He has made some outrageous statements.
1 ball and no strikes. Grounded foul. I'll say one thing. Whitey is a realist. When Jeffrey Leonard hit 2 in the empty seats in straightaway center field at Busch Stadium and took his time, and there was some who criticized Leonard, Herzog said, hey, if you can hit him in the center field seats, you can dance around, and you have every right. They call him Hackman.
He's got regular routine for running the bases after a home run.
1-1. Little foul out of play. 1-2.
Tucks his left arm in sometimes. Sometimes he flaps it, rounds third, and he walks in.
And when he keeps his left arm at his side, he said it's 1 flap down.
His hero is Dave Parker. He says when Dave runs by the dugout, he said, that's sweet.
1-2. And he's hit one to deep left center, and look out now. If it's gone, it is gone, and he's got 1 flap down.
Yeah, look at his left arm. There it is. The flap is down, and when he gets to third, it's going to take him 2-3 minutes to come around.
And remember, he now joins the company of Henry Aaron, Gary Matthews, and Bill Madlock.
He's slowing down.
And it is 4-0 San Francisco. Leonard, for whatever reason, looked over his right shoulder towards the Cardinal dugout, then over his left shoulder as if he were looking at the right side of the Cardinal infield. Hack is back indeed. You know, he's had a bad wrist and a severely pulled hamstring, but you'd never know it.
He'd make a great villain wrestler. There he is. They want him to come out. Yeah, they want a curtain call.
We'll see if he comes out. Make him wait.
Make him wait.
Make him wait.
Oh, boy.
Lawrence Olivier of Candlestick Park.
He's proud of his humility.
Yes. Here he comes now.
Make him wait.
Way to go, Hackman. 4 runs, 4 hits for the Giants, and for the Cardinals, who came in hurting, they're hurting even more now. No runs, 1 hit. So Whitey and company somehow will have to get physically well before they figure to really generate anything at all here tonight or tomorrow with Danny Cox. You know, when you think about it, that's maddening. You spend all year getting your team into position to get to the World Series, and all of a sudden you come up with all these serious injuries, and that's where the Cardinals find themselves tonight.
That was an 80-mile-an-hour fastball that he hit.
Wow. 0-2 the count to Maldonado. That's foul back. You had to feel sorry for the Toronto Blue Jays, who suddenly lost their great shortstop, Tony Fernandez, and then for good measure, their catcher, Ernie Whitt. And now you look at the Cardinals without Jack Clark, without Terry Pendleton, with Willie McGee with a bad left wrist and hand, with Danny Cox missing 2 possible starts. And it's all part of it, but it is the toughest part to accept. 0-2. Chopper up along third. Lawless with a long throw in time.
You know, and Whitey can handle most anything. Ben, I just looked at his record, not his hitting or his fielding, but Whitey played in the minor leagues 7 years, played in the major leagues 4 years. He was a third base coach. He scouted. He was a player development director, a general manager, and a manager. The only thing he hasn't done, umpire, be a minor league manager, league president, club president, or commissioner. That's pretty good.
And he's not finished.
He's not finished. Tell you, he did a job with these Cardinals. Not that it's over by a long shot, but again, boy, he is really undermanned, beginning with the way he had to pick his pitching staff for this series.
I remember Leo DeRocha used to have an expression, and it was certainly applied to the Cardinals going into this game. Leo used to say it's like going to war with a broom. And that's really what it is. You have a ball club built on speed against the number 2 team in the National League in home runs. And look at that. 0-1 the count to Chili Davis. He doubled in the 2nd inning. That's in there. 0-2.
If you're a pitcher, you got to feel like I got to pitch a shutout to get a tie.
No balls and 2 strikes to Chili Davis. Will Clark on deck.
And not to paint such a gloomy picture, but you are. But if you're sitting on the Cardinal bench, you're saying to yourself, we're down 4 runs. That takes away the bunt, obviously, hit and run. You might still use the steal, but you got to use that sparingly because you're down by 4.
Yeah, they're hurting and make no doubts about it. 1-2. Line foul. Jeffrey Leonard hitting home runs in 3 consecutive games, the LCS. He is now in the high rent district. Aaron, Matthews, Madlock, and Leonard. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Make him wait.
Oh, yeah, that's remember that one, won't you? Make him wait. 1-2. Two balls and 2 strikes. Chili Davis, who feels that he doesn't get a chance to play as much as he would like to play, but boy, he's a multi-talented kid. 2-2. And he cracks his bat, hits one to Ozzie. That's the second out of the inning. So 2 down in the 3rd inning, and Will Clark coming up. The Giants on an extra base binge with 2 doubles and a home run in less than 3 full innings. Will Clark singled in the 2nd inning to drive in the 1st run. If you weren't with us, the Giants scored 3 times in the 2nd. One of the runs coming on a wild pitch by Joe McGrain. And then in the 3rd inning, the home run by Leonard. Will Clark. One thing, the early start, the difficult time of day at about 5:30, and we had no problems with it at all today. Fouled away. Interesting, it is the 7th straight year there has been a California team in the playoff. 10 of the last 11 there has been a California team in the playoffs. And of course, when you have a California team, you're playing at 5:30, and the sun can be a problem. The one year there wasn't in that string, they had the All-Star game at Dodger Stadium, and that was played at 5:30 local time. But today was perfect. And now the lights are beginning to take effect. 4-0 in favor of the Giants here in the bottom of the 3rd. Fouled away again. You might have heard Whitey when he was talking with Joe at the start of the game, and Whitey was talking about the fact, yeah, we lost 4 straight here, but it was just a case of we, meaning the Cardinals, didn't play well. That's when St. Louis came in here with a 9.5 game lead, lost 4 straight, averaged 3 runs a game. They didn't have John Tudor or Danny Cox in that series. Another foul out of play. And it's interesting how important was that series. The Giants had been losing at home. They had lost 21 of 31. Then they swept the Cardinals. They hit a stretch then where they won 27 of 36 at home. They then swept Cincinnati 4 and came from behind to beat Houston. So they won 9 straight at home, and they were off to the races. But it all started with that 4-game sweep against the Cardinals. Ozzie, no doubt, thinking about that 1st inning. You never forget it when you run your club out of the inning on the fly ball. Breaking ball got him, and McGrain breaks off a dandy. However, Leonard has been heard from. 1 run, 1 hit. We won't make him wait. Here's a look back at a very special Olympic moment. Jeffrey Leonard hitting a home run in 3 straight league championship series. And it is 4-0 San Francisco, and a hurting Cardinal club will have Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith, and Tommy Herr as they try to get off the floor.
And if you're wondering about pitches in 3 innings, Hammaker has made only 34 pitches, 24 strikes.
The Cardinals, Vince Coleman, you remember, started off and hit a ball between Kevin Mitchell at 3rd base in St. Louis. on the AstroTurf. It's down the line in the corner for an extra base hit, and the Cardinals would have received what they needed, a lift. However, the ball was fighting the thick grass. Mitchell threw him out, and the inning immediately came to a stop. So Whitey pondering just what he can do, and really there aren't very many things he can do.
Tell you, whatever he said, though, I mean, that's the kind of reaction on the bench that picks up a ball club. What he said to Terry, who must be feeling awful bad, put a smile on his face, and good managers can do that.
So Vince Coleman, robbed of the hit in the first inning, trying to get something started against Adley Hammaker. The Giants shorten up the corners. Kevin Mitchell and Will Clark are up. In the event Coleman tries to bunt his way aboard. One ball and no strikes. Coleman can actually take advantage of the slow infield. Only 1 point difference, but boy, he really puts heat on the infield. Because it takes a while for the ball to get there. All the infield is edgy and on the run. 1-1 to count to Vince. Coleman has had 1 hit and 2 walks in his leadoff role in the series. There's another backhanded job by Kevin Mitchell. At home, he could be 2 for 2, but here at Candlestick, he is 0 for 2.
I'll tell you, Vince Coleman's going to have to try somebody else because Mitchell's made 2 fine plays. And on grass, when you talk to Ozzie Smith about it, he said you really have to concentrate more because the true hop is on the artificial surface. But I'll tell you, those 2 dazzlers by Mitchell are really something.
So Vince Coleman, 0 for 2 because of the grass and Kevin Mitchell, and the batter is Ozzie Smith. You remember, Ozzie went 3-2 with Hammaker and single to left, only to misjudge the fly ball caught by Chili Davis and double before he could get back. 2-0 to Ozzie. Ozzie posted some good numbers this year, but basically as a left-handed batter. He hit .250, a little bit less than that from this side of the plate. And they are putting on that taunting chant now. Ozzie. I think that really started. Oh, it starts in high school and everything else, but when Boston did it to Darryl Strawberry.
Has to be.
3-0. 3-1.
Well, we're lucky we're not playing. I could just hear him. Vinny, Joey.
3-1. And that's hit to center. Chili Davis hesitates and snares it.
There's a knuckleball out there, and Chili, he really had a tougher play than it appeared.
That's 9 in a row retired by Adley Hammaker since the single by Ozzie Smith. And the batter is Tommy Herr.
Boy, those gloves are big. You see that thing once it got inside there?
Yeah, no wonder they don't know they have it.
Man, you almost have to register that thing at the police station. It's so big.
So Tommy Herr, on a hit-and-run fly ball, wound up hitting into a double play in the first inning. Now, Giant pitchers did an excellent job on Herr all year. He had only 156, and he's hitting less than that, 111 in this. On deck, Jim Lindemann. Chopper to third, and Mitchell overruns the ball, and Herr is aboard. So after making 2 very tough plays, Kevin is caught in between hops, tries to short hop, and overruns it for the error.
That ball seemed to stay up there, and he just didn't come up with it. That's just a plain old-fashioned error.
So Mitchell draws the error, and Jim Lindemann coming up to bat.
That's the first inning off Vince Coleman. He makes a spectacular play, comes back and makes another good one here, and then boots that one.
All right, Mitchell leaves the door open a little bit, and Jim Lindemann trying to do something with a man aboard. Jim had an outstanding spring training. There were a lot of people who thought he would be one of the outstanding candidates for Rookie of the Year, but he had all kinds of injuries, and he was never really able to get back on track. He was on the DL with a bad back the middle of May, the same back that flared up in the LCS. Ball 2.
Think about it for a minute. If you're the Cardinals, sure, Lindemann can hit a home run, but with Jack Clark, who would be hitting in this spot, one swing and he could put you right back in the ball game.
Can you imagine how frustrated Whitey must be? You know, you sit there saying, I just don't have my club.
He's handcuffed. There's no question about it.
2-0 the count to Jim Lindemann. And there goes the runner, and it is juggled and dropped behind the plate by Brenly, and it's a stolen base for Tommy Herr.
That's the one weapon they can continue to use is a stolen base to try to manufacture a run, because Whitey feels like he's not going to get that long ball, and obviously he's not when you look at the stats. So he's going to base hit, will pick up a run here and just chip away, chip away.
Tommy Herr stole 17 out of 21 during the regular year, and Brenly, like a piece of wet soap, it goes flying out of his hand. So he's taken right out of the play.
He was in good position to make the throw. It just, when he grabbed it, squished out.
2-1 to Jim Lindemann, trying to pick up Tommy Herr. It is 4-0 Giants, top of the 4th inning. And it's a drive hooking down the left field line, foul, and out of play. So in the 4th inning of Game 3, the Cardinals get their first stolen base, and it's not by Vince Coleman, it's not by Ozzie Smith, it's by Tommy Herr. Hammaker has allowed just one hit. He had retired 9 in a row until the error by Mitchell. Lindemann had 8 home runs during the year, but 5 of them were against the Pirates. Got him. Inside corner, down he goes. No runs, no hits, an error, a man left at the end of 3.5, 4-0 Giants. Tomorrow, following Game 3 of the American League Championship Series on NBC Sports World, Michael the Silk Olajide will face Olympic gold medalist Frank Tate for the IBF middleweight crown. The 2 undefeated fighters meet in a scheduled 15-round bout live from Caesars Palace in Las Vegas tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern on NBC Sports World. As the man from North Carolina talks to the youngster born in Carmel, California, Craig and Hammaker. Hadley Hammaker, by the way, part Japanese. His mother is from Kyoto, Japan. Brenly, Uribe, and Hammaker in the 4th inning. 2-0.
Sure is nice to hear Hammaker give his wife a lot of credit in the rehab, where she finally told him, look, you just pay attention to the people who know what they're talking about. I mean, you know, you're very seldom. Last night watching that game, watching Mrs. Blyleven really shudder on that home run hit off her husband. So.
High foul off to the right. Tony Pena and Jim Lindemann. Pena. 1 away. Giants scored 3 in the 2nd. Leonard hit a home run in the 3rd. We're in the 4th. 4-0 San Francisco. If you joined us late, the Cardinals got yet another jolt. During the workout yesterday, Terry Pendleton slipped on the wet grass and twisted his ankle. Gamely tried to play tonight, but couldn't do it. And so the Cardinals, as Pendleton, just hoping that ankle will heal in time. And all Herzog can do is sit and chew. Foul back, 0-1. We understand that Terry was wearing the shoes that he would normally wear on AstroTurf. It's conceivable that baseball spikes might have prevented him from slipping on the grass, but that's academic now.
The ironic part of it is that all those workouts in these postseason play, they're just charades because it's more media than anything else.
Sure.
It's for interviews and pictures and what have you, so no good deed goes unpunished.
0-1. No swing, says Eric Gregg on that. Dave Pallone behind the plate. Then Eric Gregg, Jim Quick, and Bob Engel with John Kibler and Ed Montague on the lines. Here's Dave Pallone. Uribe flied to left in the 2nd inning. Fouled away.
And Eddie Vargo, who works out at the commissioner's office, head of the umpires, sitting alongside the commissioner's box down there watching his umpires at work. So the umpires do have somebody rooting for them, their wives and Eddie Vargo.
I was just thinking of the contrast of Busch Stadium and Candlestick Park. In St. Louis, it was so festive because so many people were wearing cardinal red. Here, in honor of the Giants, so many are wearing black and orange. And Uribe nipped on a fine play by Ozzie Smith. 2 down.
Ozzie Smith really charges that ball hard, makes a good play. It looked like Uribe had himself a base hit.
And Ozzie, of course, prefers to throw on the run. It helps his arm a little bit.
Close, but he got him. McGrain looks like he might make the play, but he sure jumped in a hurry.
And at the plate is Adley Hammaker. 0-1. Struck out in the second inning.
I don't think I'm going to get the Adley Hammaker video on hitting.
No balls and 1 strike. 4-0 Giants. Bottom of the 4th. Game 3. 0-2. When the Cardinals come up in the 5th inning, if you're not keeping score, they are due to send up Willie McGee, Tony Pena, and Jose Oquendo. One foul, and he strikes out. So the inning is over. McGrain stays on the mound, but it is strike 3. We'll be back after these messages from your local station and a reminder to be good. Adley Hammaker, who usually pitches exceptionally well at Candlestick, has limited an injury-racked Cardinal ball club to just 1 hit through 4 innings. And the Giants lead 4-0. Sitting in the stands, and they could certainly use his bat. There's a great one.
And with his wife, Lil, and I think he says it all. Boy, they sure could use his bat. 331 lifetime, 475 home runs. Wasn't it against the Giants? He got the 5 in the 1 day, I believe.
What a hitter. Willie McGee struck out in the second inning. It'll be followed by Tony Pena, then Jose Oquendo. Mitchell right at the bag at third. Ball 1. You wonder if McGee wouldn't try to dump one with a bad wrist or even push, because Will Clark is deep at first base.
So is Robbie Thompson. They got to get something started.
1-1 to count. McGee did say after the second game, and you can see the Giants would be vulnerable to a bunt that way, but McGee said after the second game, he said, my hand starts to feel pretty good. I had a couple of good hacks. Well, we'll see. 1-1 to Willie.
Now, just play pitcher-catcher for a minute. A high fastball, but the pitch that they really try to get him out on is the bad curveball of his back foot. Now, they got him set up either way, but you would think they'd want to bounce one up there. Let's see what happens.
1-2. Got him.
There it was.
So McGee strikes out, and that would be the 3rd strikeout for Adley Hammaker.
This is the perfect pitch to McGee. Low and inside, out of the strike zone. Look at the target. And Brenly kind of boxes it up, which is a bit unusual, but he just walks over and tags him. Oh, so politely.
So the Cardinals flying on 1 wing right now, and the batter will be Tony Pena. I would think, maybe not professionals, but amateurs would suddenly say, we're not supposed to win. I mean, all our guys are hurt, and I'm sure the professional have to fight that black thought.
Yeah, you got to fight that cloud. You can't say, you know, you can't call timeout. You got to play it.
Pena hit the ball hard to deep center in the second inning, and Chili Davis went back to the fence and hauled it in. I think Tony thought he hit it out when he first made contact. Pena during the regular year had 5 home runs.
You know, it was just a quick glance into that dugout, Ben, but I thought I saw Jack Clark with a bat. It might be a game like this where we might get to see him.
Or maybe he just is so nervous he has to hold something in his hand, so frustrated. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ground ball off the glove of Will Clark, and Pena's aboard. Clark played that as if he was afraid of a treacherous bad hop that might hit him in the face.
Plays it off to the side, really not in front of it. Haven't scored it yet. I think I'd give him an A.
I would. It's the bigs, but we'll see. And it's going to go as a base hit. And the crowd reacts. And when they boo Will Clark, that's news. So the batter is Jose Aquindo. Grounded to short in the 3rd inning. 0 for 1. Whitey's secret weapon. Boy, he is some guy to have around. Play just about anywhere and has, except pitch and catch. But then he finally pitched in a blowout. The only position he didn't catch. Bob Force throwing in the pen. Tom Lawless on deck. Fouled away. 1-1. Not only has Aquindo played 8 positions, he started at 7 different positions. We told you he hit his 1 home run of the year here at Candlestick against Craig Lefferts.
Watching Hammaker throw over there, and we said it so often, Craig calls all the throws to first base. He's got over 25 different signs he has to flash, Roger Craig.
Strike on the outside corner, 1-2. Just looking ahead, as I'm sure Craig has already done, the Cardinals have Jack Clark, Steve Lake, Tom Pagnozzi, and the switch hitter, Terry Pendleton, available perhaps to swing the bat. Those are the right-hand batters. 1-2. Breaking ball hit in the air to left field. Leonard has plenty of room.
This lineup, you'd have to say, right on down for the Cardinals. Warning track power.
Oh, yeah, and how. As you can see, the Cardinals started out tearing up the lead. And then, minus Jack Clark and other nagging problems, they barely made it above 500 the second part of the year. Run production and batting average falling off considerably. Understandably. And here's Lawless. Grounded to short in the 3rd. Tom 0 for 1. Strike. For Hammaker, in a pretty good-sized ballpark, a slow infield, he can just about challenge all these hitters and say,
hit it.
Yeah.
Sure. The only thing you can't defense is the base on balls. You can see how he has settled down. He's not walking around that mound talking to himself like he did in that 1st inning.
0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. If Roger Craig has a thought about Tony Pena, Bob Brenly, after waiting for Lawless, always takes a peek at the manager, and he gets an answer from the look.
He's just flashing all the time. He's in the game. He runs it. He controls it.
Right. You can't imagine that Pena would be going anywhere down 4-0 with 2 out in the 5th and Tom Lawless at the plate.
Hacker at first base just soon get a lasso and tie him there if he's got any ideas. But Roger, he just controls the game.
It becomes a habit, too. The catcher automatically looks over there no matter what the score.
So obviously that little move there was to throw over to first base. Nothing else. Keep him honest. It takes the heat off the pitcher. What he has to do is concentrate on throwing to the batter until he gets a sign from his catcher saying throw to first base.
Pena, like Brenly, runs well for a catcher, and he stole 6 out of 7 during the regular year. He doesn't figure to do any running now, however. And there's a flare into right center, and it's going to fall. Pena will stop at second as Maldonado comes up ready to throw, and that means McGrain will come out. So Whitey Herzog doesn't have many chances at this game. And with first and second, who do you think it's going to be? Jack Clark.
Well, with 2 outs, he doesn't have to run, and that was the big reason. And, of course, the crowd will really boo him because he has made some statements about this ballpark, making no bones about how he doesn't like it.
So Jack Clark comes back to Candlestick. He had some magnificent years here. He hit over 300 for the Giants. He hit as high as 320 for the Giants. He has over 37% of the Cardinal home runs, even though his last home run was September the 6th. He knocked in over 100 runs for the Giants in 1982.
Here's where Whitey wants that big sock, and it's a perfect spot to use Clark because with 2 outs, he will not have to run. And Brenly just motioning, settle down now. If there is a key play in the game, key time at bat, this is it for Hammaker.
Oh, and for the Cardinals as they try to get back in the ballgame. Well, Clark isn't the tying run, but he could sure get the Cardinals back in it. Strike. 2 out in the 5th inning. Giants 4, Cardinals nothing, and Jack Clark comes up to hit from a grain with 2 runners aboard. Pena at second and Lawless at first.
He uses a very light bat, and he says he always sets himself up to hit at the plate, not at the pitcher.
0-1 to Clark. No balls and 2 strikes to Jack Clark, making his first appearance, and what a spot. You would think it's the 9th inning. You know what? The crowd is on its feet. Wow. We're only in the 5th inning. Brenly doing a little umpiring. Ball 1, and I'm sure Pallone will chew him a little for that.
And that didn't help the situation for Pallone, and Jack Clark had a little thing to say as he kind of backed out of the batter's box. Watch him react here.
Oh, he says, thank you very much, strike 3. All right, 1-2 the count of Jack. Hammaker in his first jam of the night. Can't help but look at Clark and wonder what it would be like if he were playing every inning of every game. Two and now Brenly wants to talk to Hammaker.
Well, their pitch of decision is right here. He doesn't want to take him deep. 3-2. It looked like he was going to take a shot at that outside corner and made sure that if he missed, he was going to be outside and not come out over the plate. He wants it to happen here because 3-2, then Clark has a little bit of an edge.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Herzog playing his trump card with first and second and 2 out.
Took him off.
And Deuce is wild in the 5th, and Clark decides to take a breather. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Number 22 at the plate. 2 men aboard. Pena at second and Lawless at first.
And Hammaker's a little pumped up. That last one was in 91. He started out at 89, so don't get too pumped up.
This is when the adrenaline is really flowing. 2-2. Nope, off the rubber.
He's regrouping is what he's doing. He's talking to himself because the one problem that they've had with him in talking to Norm Sherry and to Roger Craig is that Hammaker sometimes will get so worked up that he'll want to overthrow and throw too hard. And I'll tell you, if he tries to match his fastball against Clark, Hammaker will be the loser. And Brenly is trying to settle him down and say, hey, just pitch your game and we'll get him. He's trying to change the mood.
Brenly puts his hand and mitt up like he's hearing confession. There's no way anybody could read his lips or even the camera to find out what he's saying.
Catchers don't trust anybody.
No. All right, 2-2 to Jack Clark, and this crowd still on its feet. 4-0 Giants in the 5th. Cardinals trying to get off the ground. Got it. strikeout for Adley Hammaker. And at the end of 4 1/2, 4-0 San Francisco.
56, the first World Series perfect game is pitched.
You see Norm Sherry and Hammaker talking about that last pitch, which was 90 miles an hour. In fact, talking before the game, we were talking about Hammaker, and Roger Craig says that when he comes in, he'll want to know just how hard it was. And if it's 90 miles an hour, Norm Sherry will say, well, drop it to 85. When he starts to really try to throw hard, that's when he gets in trouble. But he made a tremendous pitch, but you had to have the feeling that then he was going to either hit that corner or walk him. Jack Clark, who we're looking at, is not going to beat him or come close to it.
And I'm sure Clark, an experienced hitter, knew he was not going to get a ball to pull. I think the pitch outside, which he probably expected, fooled him only in the sense he thought it was going to tail off instead of catch the corner. And all he can do is load up on chewing gum. And meanwhile, Adley Hammaker sits quietly alongside Jose Morales,
who's very happy because his folks in the Virgin Islands get a chance to see him. He made a point of mentioning that.
Bob Forge, who's from Sacramento, who pitched one scoreless inning in Game 2. He leads all pitchers in years with a single team. He first came to the Cardinals in 1974. So Bob Forge pitching to Robbie Thompson, Kevin Mitchell, and Jeffrey Leonard. Joe McGrain went 4 innings, gave up 4 runs and 4 hits, had a very rocky second inning with a walk and a wild pitch, and he also gave up the home run to Leonard. The bunt, and on it is Pena to get him.
That thing hit the grass, and it like it fell into a pot of glue as we look at Joe McGrain, who is watching the action here. Robbie tried to get that ball out a little farther, but that grass just grabbed it, chewed it up.
Joe McGrain, who might very well have fallen into the trap of figuring he had to make every pitch a perfect one since his team didn't figure to score much. And that's a tough load for a young pitcher to take to the mound.
Yes, it is. He tried to do a little bit more than he normally would do, but I'm happy to see him blowing that bubble gum instead of that other stuff they chew.
Tony Pena is doing what most dark-skinned catchers have to do. You get your fingers taped so that when the pitcher's looking down, he can see the signs. By looking at the tape, he knows how many fingers.
He was using flash signs, and sometimes you do that where you just flash the hands, but with Forsh obviously using finger signs. First time I ever saw that was Elston Howard.
Johnny Roseboro. First I ever saw it, yeah.
Elston Howard did, and it's a pretty good idea.
Kevin Mitchell.
Here's Kevin Mitchell, 0 for 2, also made 2 fine plays defensively and committed an error along the way. Right. Mitchell flied to center and grounded to third. 4-0 Giants, bottom of the 5th. Long way to go. 1-1. Tomorrow, Danny Cox and Mike Krukow. 2-1. And that's hit into right center for a base hit. So Mitchell slicing one for a single, and it'll bring up Leonard. From a large portion of the crowd. Leonard has added incentive. He has incentive clauses in his contract. If he is the League Championship Series most valuable player, he picks up an additional $50,000. Ball 1. And so far, he's had that kind of a series.
Yes, he has. They put a play on the last time he was up there, so Mitchell's getting himself a pretty good lead. You certainly can't take for granted. Like the way Mitchell's going, I'd almost look for him to break.
And remember, Thompson was going when Leonard at bat in the first inning, and there he goes, and he fouled it away. Remember when Leonard fought a pitch off and hit it inside first, Thompson was going, and Lindemann made a fine diving stop to take a base hit away from him. So they put a hit and run play on again. when you look at Leonard's work for the year, you might be a little surprised to say, wow, hit and run with a 19 home run man. But he led the Giants in grounding into double play. That's why they put the hit and run on line.
Mitchell check with Fay.
And the pitch inside, and it got him. Leonard hit by the pitch. And that was a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, according to the clock. And Leonard going on to first base.
He hasn't said anything, but you know what he's thinking. You can see they're trying to jam him inside. That's the spot to pitch him. He just can't get out of the way, and as he turns, it looked like it hit him on the right arm. You can't really tell. He just tailed right into him. Right on the top of the arm, it looked like it hit him. And Mitchell was breaking, and it was interesting. He checked with Fay, his coach, as we look at Leonard for being hit.
Right fielder, Candy Maldonado.
That's the home run. He's not going to win the popularity contest with the pointing and the stopping and the running, but I don't really believe that was a retaliation pitch. I think he was just trying to jam him.
Well, they did jam him and get away in the first inning. Breaking ball missing, ball one. 1-0 the count. So Bob Force now finds himself in a spot of trouble with one out. A single by Mitchell, a hit batter, and here's Maldonado. 1 ball and no strike. Maldonado hit sharply back to McGrain. Joe made a good play in the first inning, and he grounded to third in the third. Roll it to short. Ozzie feeding her, and her can't get it. All he could do is knock it down. The throw was low, and her tried to reach back and get it. I would guess they'll give Ozzie Smith the error.
That ball didn't get to Ozzie as quickly as he would like to have it get to him, and it just kind of broke the rhythm, and his toss is not a good one. Now watch him. He's got it in good shape, but when he tosses it, he tried to give it letter high, but it was to the first base side, low. Her couldn't get it, and you could see Leonard sliding to take her out of the play, and now the bases are loaded.
So Ozzie Smith drawing the error, and the base is loaded as Chili Davis comes up. And Davis now bats from the left side. 1 out. 4-0 Giants in the fifth. Strike outside corner. Chili Davis doubled and grounded out. So you have Mitchell at third, Leonard at second, Maldonado at first. On a flare single to right center, a hit batter, and an error. Now they are saying error 4, even though the throw was low. Evidently they feel that Tommy Hurst should have held on to it. Little pop fly. Ozzie going out on the grass. 2 down. So it is not an error charged to Ozzie Smith. They are giving it to Tommy Hurst. This is the way he did it at home. He only made 10 errors all year.
First baseman, Will Clark.
Ozzie not charged with the error. Her is, but I'm sure Ozzie feels he should have made a better toss to Tommy. And with 2 down, Will Clark the batter. Clark singled to drive in a run, scored on a double, and struck out. 1 for 2. Good save by Tony Pena. Boy, that thing could have gone to the backstop easily. Eddie Milner is running down to the Giant bullpen to loosen up. Now that they have a lead, they might insert him in center field after this inning. Mitchell at third, Leonard at second, Maldonado at first. 2 out. 4-0 San Francisco in the fifth. In there, 1-1.
That first curveball was a hard curveball. He kind of let up on this one, dropped it in for a strike. I'll tell you, that first one, Pena did get over there in good shape. One-handed it.
Boy, he really did save a run. 1-1. Clark out in front of that.
Interestingly enough, Ben, even though I thought he was going to go to fingers, Pena is going to flashes, and you could see how much it helps Force to see those signs with that tape on his fingers.
1-2 to Will Clark. Breaking ball. Do you remember he came up with the bases loaded in St. Louis? in the first game and flied to right. And he got a fastball up and just hit under it. He's getting nothing but breaking balls from Ford.
What I mean by flash is every time you see it move, you may have set up, first flash, curveball, fastball, curveball, change. You see he's flashing.
2-2. Fastball, and he get under it. Fly ball to right, Jose Aquindo.
Whoop.
So the Giants get a base hit, a hit batter, and an error, and Forsch fights him away, and they leave 3. And at the end of 5, 4-0 San Francisco. We're going to the 6th inning at Candlestick Park in San Francisco, with the Giants leading the Cardinals 4-0. Outlined against the night here in San Francisco, our Goodyear blimp. Down on the ground, Eddie Milner is now in center field for Chili Davis, as the Giants leading 4-0 try to shore up the center field area with extra speed. Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith, and Tommy Hurd against Adley Hammaker. Right. That's the thing that we would expect from Willie McGee, the way the Giants have been playing him.
Coleman doesn't believe that he did attempt to bunt. Pallone said he did.
Coleman could easily be 2 for 2, but the combination of the grass and Kevin Mitchell deprived him each time. Here's the bunt attempt.
Oh, good call.
Oh, yeah.
He did go after it.
0-1 to Vince. 1 ball, 1 strike. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. No runs, 3 hits for the Cardinals. Smith, Pena, and Lawless have the hits.
You see how Coleman had that bat trademark away from him? You know there's a reason for that?
1-1. I mean, so the bat won't break?
No, that's what we learned on the playgrounds.
Right.
But Rod Carew, a great hitter, once said when he was getting tired, the way he made the bat appear longer would be to turn the trademark away so he didn't see any printing, and the bat appeared longer. Brother, if Carew says it, I believe.
2-1 the count. They've said it about a lot of great hitters, the old story about, hey, buddy, you're hitting with the label up, and the hitter says, I ain't reading up here. 2-2 the count to Coleman. We're in the 6th. The Cardinals had one look at the game, really. And that was in the 5th inning, 2 on, 2 out, and Jack Clark called out on strikes. Hammaker has struck out 4. Fouled away, hit inside out into the crowd off first base. We were talking about that 4-game series that the Cardinals played here. It was a disastrous sweep by the Giants as far as St. Louis was concerned. They hit into 8 double plays in 2 games. Fouled away. And I believe Roger Craig walked Jack Clark in that series 9 times.
He wasn't going to let Clark beat him, and I guarantee you that I'm sure that was the instruction when he came in the pinch hit here. That's why he kept throwing for that outside corner.
Cardinals struggling, as you can see, trying to get some base hits, and the Giants sitting atop a 4-0 lead. 2-2. There's a one-hopper at Rob Thompson, and Robbie throws him out. 1 down in the 6th. The batter will be Ozzie Smith. Single to left and fly to center.
Shortstop, Ozzie Smith.
Some visiting player always has to take the heat, and obviously Ozzie Smith has been cast in that role by the San Francisco fans. 1-1.
Well, one of the things I'm sure that they wrote about it was that backflip that he did when he ran out to lead the Cardinals, and we saw a sign that really said it all.
1 ball and no strikes. Yeah, there's a big sign somewhere in the lower deck, a black sign with orange lettering that says, Ozzie does backflips, Jose turns double plays. Quite a rivalry here. A drive into right field, so Ozzie gets a base hit. And with one out, Tommy Herr, the batter. So Ozzie at first, Tommy Herr flied out, hit and run play in the first inning. Ozzie was doubled up, and then he was aboard on the error by Kevin Mitchell in the fourth.
And you saw Ozzie really staring at his third base coach, because even though they're down by 4, they've got to try to make a run, and maybe Whitey's going to try to steal one. Tried it before.
Remember, Tommy Herr stole second in the fourth inning with 2 out. Ozzie's aboard with 1 out. Strike. On deck, Jim Lindemann.
You saw her look, and now you see Brenly checking with Roger Craig.
Yesterday, Dave Dravecky pitched a 5-0 shutout, allowing only 2 hits. And now the Cardinals, sputtering against Hammaker, have 4 hits, but the same result, no runs.
He's given his sign already.
0-1. Fouled away, off to the right, out of play, and the count 0-2. One thing, if he wants to start calling some pitch outs on Hammaker, Hammaker's control has been perfect. He hadn't walked a batter. So that's some luxury.
It is. And he's got all his pitchers in that great frame of mind that if the pitch out is called and the runner doesn't go, it doesn't throw him out of kilter. Look at him checking with Ozzie. He's looking at Ozzie Smith, waiting for Brenly. He's got, as I said, over 25. I'm telling you, he's busy just scratching himself giving signs.
0-2.
And that was a different sign if that indicates on the first base. He went from his leg to his face the first time, and then he just went to the belt buckle. I asked him if he gives it to somebody else to flash. He said, nope, I give them all.
Ozzie with a pretty good lead. Poised and apparently leaning a little on his right leg. So a throw.
There's 3 different signs we've seen to throw over to first base.
Part of the thing that Roger reads when he does look at the runner is the positioning the runner has with his hands and his knees.
And how relaxed he gets, too. The runner sometimes will get really relaxed and almost appear like he's not being noticed.
He does a great job of imitating a runner who is going to try to steal. And some of the tip-off signs.
That's the 4th different sign he used to throw over to first base. It's got to have something to do with skin, because he's always gone to the skin.
Skin, or yeah, or the other might be the cloth, huh?
Well,
no, there's skin
again.
Yep.
That's been the common denominator. Hey, it's fun to play along with them.
0-2. Check swing foul. So it's still 0-2 to Tommy Herr. Here in the 6th, 1 away. Ozzie Smith at first. And the Giants leading 4-0. The Cardinals trying somehow to come back.
He just had an itch before.
yeah, the other was nothing.
That's right. Now he just went to the ear. Now let's see. That was just skin. He didn't go to anything else.
Ozzie's not leaning. Ground foul. Interesting. On 2 throws over to first base, Ozzie had most of his weight on his right leg. I don't know whether Hammaker was reading that, or Craig, or Brenly, but they did throw over there. That last time, Ozzie was not leaning. To the count. Ozzie has increased a little. Now we'll see what Roger does.
That's the first time he didn't use skin.
Right. And Ozzie is not leaning. Not going either. And they pitched out. Aha. Now let's see if that means.
Yeah.
First time he didn't touch skin to skin, flesh to flesh. They pitched out. 1-2 the count.
Boy, if we guess right, we win the contest, don't we?
Yeah, you're allowed to run between first and second after the game. Ozzie not leaning and not going. And the pitch foul back and out of play.
But look at Brenly come all the way back. He's not taking any chances because he knows that some of those balls come back here. The wind doesn't seem to be a factor, but Roger Craig has done a great job of putting a positive attitude as far as Candlestick, but he says that we don't know what's going to happen, but there's something out there waiting, and he's got his players convinced, and you saw Brenly really hustle back.
Tell you one thing, I've been coming to Candlestick ever since it opened, and this is a very pleasant evening as of right now, local time, almost 7:30. No fog, no wind. 1-2, Ozzie Smith with one out in the 6th, and it's 4-0 Giants. Tommy Herr hits it foul down the left field line, way back. Still 1-2, and Brenly out to talk to Hammaker.
It's been a long time at bat for her. He's really battled hard.
Tommy walks and strikeouts about the same number of times in the 60s. Good, solid ball player. Has always had just about everything you'd want. Switch hitter, play every day, drive in a lot of runs. Remember, he had over 100 runs and less than 10 home runs 2 years ago.
Well, the tribute is that he's batting third, and that's where your best hitter is.
One and two to Herr. Ozzie Smith at first.
Man, I've been writing him down, and I'm going to tell you something. He's got me thoroughly confused.
Oh, yeah.
He went from the chin to the cap to the face.
Now he starts below the belt, as if that meant something.
And didn't touch any flesh.
And there's a fly ball to straightaway center to Eddie Milner. So with all of that, routine fly ball, 2 down. Of course, this is really what we expected to see throughout the League Championship Series anyway.
Yes, we did.
And the batter, Jim Lindeman, grounded to short and struck out. Jim 0 for 2.
First baseman, Jim Lindeman.
It was interesting before the game, seeing all the Cardinals come out of the dugout, and I'm sure they were looking up to see Stan Musial there, and then the Giants came out. They were all looking up at Joe DiMaggio. Names that will never die.
Of course, the worst seat in this ballpark is in the dugout. A lot of the coaches just stand the whole time.
That's why every Giant manager I have ever seen stands right where Roger is. Fouled away, out of play, 0-1. One time, the Giants playing the Dodgers, a high foul ball went over near the Giant dugout, and Charlie Fox was the manager. Charlie stepped out from under the roof hollering, "Plenty of room, plenty of room." The foul ball hit him right on the head. 0-1. 4-0 Giants, top of the 6th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Lee Hammaker, allowing the 4 hits, has struck out 4, has not walked a batter, and his biggest challenge in the 5th with 2 on and 2 out, when he got a 2-strike fastball on the outside corner to strike out Jack Clark looking. 1-1 to Lindeman. High drive into right center and deep. Maldonado on the track at the wall. It is gone. Home run, Jim Lindeman, and the Cardinals are back in the game.
That's what Whitey Herzog and the Cardinals were hoping, that Lindeman would do something like that. They bat him 4th, and it paid off for Whitey, and it's a big home run, a 4-2 ball game.
So Jim Lindeman, in only his 2nd time in cleanup, he batted cleanup way back in April. And the pride of Evanston, Illinois, hits one over the right center field wall. During the regular year, 6 of his 8 home runs were with the bases empty, and Maldonado stumbled, then leaped high, but never could have caught the ball, even had he kept his feet before the jump. Watch him stumble again. Right there. And that took a little bit off the leap, but he wouldn't have caught it anyway. McGee, a full swing foul. So it is 4-2 Giants in the 6th inning. So Lindeman wakes up the Birds. There's a looper to right. Maldonado coming up, slides, must have misjudged it or lost it in the lights, and McGee is not going to stop at second. Willie on his way for 3. He is in there. And I think Candy was trying to get an angle where he could pick the ball up and get out from under the glare of the lights.
That's what it looked like. He just didn't pick it up at all, and he was going to slide and make the play. He's not sure, but now you see him go. That's a slide. He just was trying to get under those lights. He lost it there. McGee, he just runs those bases. He makes up his mind. It's a 3-base hit, and away he goes. Maldonado just had trouble with the lights. Here we see McGee. He's not even looking at the coach, although Nick Labia was down there making sure that he at least slid.
Well, now here's a very big at-bat for Tony Pena. As Maldonado, trying to pick that ball out of the lights, tried to get underneath the glare and couldn't make the catch. So it is 4-2 Giants, but the Cardinals have a run 90 feet away. Ball 1 to Pena. The Giant bullpen gets busy. Mike Lacoste, the right-hander. Joe Price, the left-hander. 1-0 to Pena. Ground ball, foul by inches, so close that the third base umpire, Bob Engel, started to use his left hand and then had to take it off and flash foul. This is how close it was.
Just a matter of inches, and the Cardinals would have another run in and a base runner at second base at least. Look at him. He started. Engel started. And look at Nick Labia saying fair ball. And now he's talking to Bob Engel, but to no avail.
That left arm came up, so it looked like he was going to start calling it fair. And then Bob just whirled and gestured with both arms foul. But that indicates just how close it was. So Pena trying to pick up McGee and get the Cardinals back to within 1. 2 balls, 1 strike. On deck, Jose Aquindo. So Hammaker gave up the single to Smith, then the home run to Lindemann, and then the triple to McGee. Willie bluffs down the line. And Brenly bluffs to try and drive him back. McGee certainly took liberties on Hammaker, gave him something to think about. He came a good 35 feet to 40 feet down the line on that pitch. Of course, he'd love to have Mitchell get closer to the bag to hold him on and open up the hole on the left side. 3-1 to Tony Pena. Ground ball right at Will Clark. So McGee is left at third, but the Cardinals come back with a single, triple, and home run. And at the end of 5 1/2, 4-2 San Francisco. Well, we saw Jack Clark caught looking with 2 on, and then we saw an unlikely cleanup hitter, Jim Lindemann, hit one out to get St. Louis back in the game.
Big boost for the Cardinals to get that home run, and Pena hit that ball hard twice, couldn't catch a break, but I think we got a ball game. That woke up that Cardinal bench.
We do indeed, and now it's in the hands of Bob Forsch against Atlee Hammaker. It is 4-2 in favor of San Francisco. Game 3, Danny Cox and Mike Krukow tomorrow.
Well, we expected this kind of a series, and I don't think we're going to be disappointed at all.
I think they're just starting to warm up, so let's pull up a chair and take another look.
Norm Sherry talking to Atlee Hammaker, and I'm sure they're talking about that last ball that Pena hit. He wasn't happy at all, and Norm Sherry is the guru over there, so he wasn't happy at all.
Well, it is 4-2 Giants, who will now try to take the momentum away from St. Louis. And Bob Brenly, Jose Uribe, and then the pitcher Atlee Hammaker against Bob Forsch. Foul ball outside of third, 0-1. And Brenly, perhaps cracking the bat, will have to get another. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Giants, 2 runs, 6 hits for the Cardinals, an error on each side. Joe McGrain went 4. Bob Forsch pitching his second inning. Atlee Hammaker has worked 6 for San Francisco. Brenly doubled to right and fouled out. One thing about Atlee Hammaker, with all of his physical problems, he's not going to give you too many complete games. 27 starts this year and only 2 complete. So the Cardinals no doubt feel they can still summon up a charge against him in the later innings. 1-2. Hamaker, to no one's surprise, pitching exceptionally well in Candlestick Park. He's dynamite here. Foul ball. One and two. So that takes care of Bob Brenly. One out in the sixth. The batter will be Jose Uribe. Take another look. That was clocked at only 76 miles an hour.
He took something off that pitch. I don't know if it was a breaking ball. It certainly was. He took something off the curveball, and Brenly was way out in front.
Brenly, you remember, in the first game, struck out 3 times. But tonight he did have a key double. Jose Uribe, a switch hitter. Batting right-handed, he flied to left and lost a hit on a good play by Ozzie Smith. Now he turns around from the other side. One and 0.
With forced pitching, Pena at times has gone into that chiropractor's delight stance of his, catching the ball when he spreads that leg and he really gets down low. He wants that ball down. There it is.
2-0 the count to Jose Uribe with Hamaker on deck. Line down the right field line, foul, and out of play. 2-1. Jose Uribe, the switch hitting shortstop. One out, bottom of the sixth, 4-2 San Francisco. Now the other way. Bob Forsch, 37 years old. His biggest year with the Cardinals was back in 1977. He was a 20-game winner. Then for 3 years in a row, he was hung on 11. Last year he won 14. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Little squibber, and Forsch is on it. Didn't get much on the throw, and Uribe, hitting left-handed, made that very, very close, much closer than it should have been.
Looked like he might have had a little trouble getting it out because he didn't have any problem feeling the ball. His position is great.
I wonder, too, if the grass isn't wet, and it kind of slipped.
He had the grip, but he grabbed the cross seams, made it pretty close. And I think Lindemann helped the cause by just kind of moving off that bag.
I think Bob, what he did was really throw a great changeup to Lindemann. He fooled a lot of hitters with that move. So 2 down, and here is Hamaker. Struck out twice. Ball 1. When the Cardinals come up against Hamaker in the 7th inning, Jose Aquindo, Tom Lawless, and Bob Forsch. And Forsch is a good hitter. 1-1. Little roller to third, waiting for the hop is Lawless, and then takes care of him. So a very easy inning for Bob Forsch. At the end of 6, 4-2 Giants. Will be back after these messages from your local station.
Candlestick Park in San Francisco will have highlights and live interviews of playoff game number 3 after the game.
Game 3 of the 1987 National League Championship Series. Terry Pendleton trying to get that left ankle loosened up.
Leading off the 7th inning for St. Louis.
Pendleton, who was unable to start, injured himself yesterday in the workout, trying to run himself back into the lineup. Meanwhile, Ricky Horton is throwing in the Cardinal bullpen, and it's Aquindo, Lawless, and we'll see now Pendleton is the pinch hitter.
Then with that pitch, Hamaker's made 97 pitches, 66 strikes, and 31 balls.
Big Don Robinson gets up down in the Giant bullpen and begins to loosen up. So Don Robinson in the Giant pen, Ricky Horton in the Cardinal pen. It's 4-2 San Francisco in the 7th. 2-0 to Oquendo, grounded out and flied out. Strike. 2-1. Kevin Mitchell in on the grass at third. Remember, we saw Coleman try to bunt leading off the 6th inning. Fouled away. 2-2. Fastball. That was a sneaky fastball, but it just sailed high. 3-2. Yeah, I think he has to back over and pull himself together. He gave everything he had on that pitch.
He wanted that. He wanted it badly and may have thrown it just a bit too hard.
It was 91.
Yeah, that's as high as he's thrown.
Foul ball, out of play. Giants scored 3 in the 2nd and 1 in the 3rd. And the Cardinals came back with 2 in the 6th. Might have gotten even closer. They left Willie McGee at 3rd in the 6th. So we're in the 7th. 4-2 Giants. Outfield straight away on Oquendo. Lined into left field. Base hit. So Jose Oquendo 1 for 3 as he singles to left, and now any Cardinal coming up to the plate represents a tying run. And Robinson throws harder in the bullpen. Remember, Hamaker has only 2 complete games in 27 starts during the regular year.
Brenly walked out there like he's trying to buy some time because there's no strategy to be talking about here, and let's see what happens.
You know, when Forsch came into the game, it was almost as if the Cardinals were getting an extra and badly needed hitter in the lineup. And Forsch comes out on deck. So Roger Craig, along with his coach Norm Sherry.
Sherry clocks the pitches. He knows the number of pitches.
Tom Lawless with Bob Forsch on deck. Lawless grounded to short and single to right. Nobody out. Oquendo at first. Ball 1. Steve Brenly seemed to gesture to Hamaker a little bit. There wasn't very much on that one at all. Remember that 2-2 fastball he threw. Then perhaps he's lost a little in that last pitch. It's a good thing it was way off the plate. There wasn't much on it. Here comes Roger Craig. I think Roger feels the same way. That wasn't much of a pitch.
Well, I really think he was going to try to let him pitch to Lawless to maybe help keep Oquendo on, but when Brenly went out there the first time, it almost like he was going to make a move because he was buying time. He wasn't talking any strategy. So I'm sure that Roger, and it may be that he has a sign with Brenly because that last pitch didn't have a whole lot on it, and he's going to make a move.
Yeah, I think so.
I would think he would because Robinson is his closer.
And he looks and says, I want him. So Don Robinson, who came over in a deal with Pittsburgh, will pick up, and Adley Hamaker gets a standing ovation as he leaves.
Up in the game.
We believe in ourselves, and we can tell our fans believe in us by the way they react. I think that's the biggest key, is just to make sure we believe in ourselves and go out there and just keep playing as hard as we can.
You guys were the ones that told the whole world that we're going to sweep it. Trouble is you guys don't play.
Seems like we play better when we got our backs to the wall, and we certainly have that now. I hope it surfaces again.
Adley Hamaker gets into the 7th inning. Goes out leading 4-2. Oquendo is his responsibility. And the new pitcher, Don Robinson, will go head-to-head with a pinch hitter, Curt Ford. Robinson, and that's a combined record with Pittsburgh and San Francisco. He was 5-1 with the Giants, a total of 19 saves, 7 of them with the Giants. So Ford hitting for Lawless. Curt hit .285 during the regular year. And Robinson going head-to-head with Oquendo at first. 1 ball and no strikes. 1-1.
He's He's a power pitcher. He'll rear back and pump that fastball.
Boy, he's big. He's 6'4", 235. And he's another fine hitter like Bob Forch. And that was clocked at 94. That's a good way to say hello to the hitter.
Ford took some extra batting practice in the cage working with Coach Johnny Lewis before the game tonight.
Mitchell plays him up in front of the bag at third. Oquendo at first. Nobody out in the seventh. Giants 4, Cardinals 2. Ford is the second Cardinal pinch hitter. Jack Clark struck out for McGrain in the 5th inning. Ford will be 27 on Sunday. Two balls and one strike. Force is still out on the on-deck circle. Ricky Horton throwing in the Cardinal bullpen. 2 balls and 1 strike to Ford. And it's a busted bat and a flare into center for a base hit. So on a broken back single by Kurt Ford, the Cardinals have the tying runs on and nobody out.
Force is going back to the dugout, so it looks like Whitey's going to make a move. There you see Robbie Thompson really giving it a good effort, but Ford was able to muscle it over his head.
So now let's see who's going to come out with 2 on and nobody out. Well, we're waiting for Whitey to make the move.
Looks like Dreesen walked over there as we see the Giant bench. Roger Craig checking off the pinch hitters.
And that's who it is. Danny Dreesen will come out and bat. You had Ford, now Dreesen. The other 2 left-hand hitters available are Lance Johnson and John Morris. So Dreesen will come up to bat for Force with 2 on and nobody out. Well, if you wonder about the old baseball adage about playing to win on the road and playing to tie at home, it's a question of bunt or not to bunt. And evidently Whitey has opted to go for a bundle.
He's going to go for the big strike. And I tell you, with the ball club crippled as it is, he could get one swing, get an extra base from Danny Dreesen, and he'd be in great shape, and that's what he's hoping to catch.
Dreesen hit .233 for the Cardinals with a home run and 11 runs batted in. Danny had 2 doubles in the first game. He went 2 for 4. Craig Lefferts, the left-hander, the inside man. Mike Lacoste, the right-hander. And the Cardinals have made some noise. They've had 7 hits in the last 2 innings plus. And they have 8 hits in the game to out-hit the Giants, who are still leading 4-2. Oquendo and Ford out on the line. Ball 1. And on deck, Vince Coleman. Now down in the Cardinal bullpen because they're back in the game, getting closer and closer. Herzog has opted to get Ken Daly up, and Ricky Horton stops throwing. Fouled away, out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Dreesen, and we mentioned it in the first game, but it is a notable accomplishment. The first designated hitter for the National League in the '76 World Series for Cincinnati. He had a big series, and so did the Reds. They swept the Yankees. 1-1. Ball 2.
He's putting his fastball hitter Dreesen up against the fastball pitcher Robinson, knowing full well the ground ball is going to be a double play, but strength against strength. If Whitey can pull it off, Dreesen can give him that extra base hit that he desperately needs.
And the corners are trying to defense against it. Both Mitchell and Clark are trying to cut down a ball hit by the bag. 2-1. Ball 3. 2 on and nobody out in the 7th. The Giants leading the Cardinals 4-2. 2-1 to the pinch hitter, Dan Dreesen. Three and two.
The man in the Giant bullpen with the headset on is Bob Lillis. He is in charge of the defense. He sets them up. He's got Gordy McKenzie up in the press box. He's his eye in the sky, and he's in contact.
You know, in 80 at-bats for the Cardinals, Dreesen only struck out 8 times. So if you know he's a contact hitter against a fastball pitcher, you think Whitey would turn the runners loose?
I would.
Well, we'll see. Oquendo and Ford. Big pressure on Dreesen to make contact. The runners are not going. And there's a ball hit up the middle, base hit. Here comes Oquendo around third to score. Hurrying to third is Ford. And the Cardinals are within 1 with the tying run at third. So Dan Dreesen singles up the middle. That scores Oquendo. Sends Ford to third.
Robinson tries to kick it almost to do anything to stop that ball from going to the outfield. These Cardinals, you really have to tip your hat to them. They've battled back here and got that tying run at third and the lead run at first.
Now, the Cardinals will go to the bench and get a little more speed out there. And we'll have a runner at first base. Lance Johnson is going to run for Danny Dreesen. So Roger Craig has seen a 4-0 lead, and a feeling of euphoria here at Candlestick suddenly sour as the Cardinals have come scrambling back. The Giants 4 runs, 5 hits. The Cardinals 3 runs, 9 hits. And the Birds got moving on a 2-run home run by Jim Lindeman. That seemed to wake up the team. That run was charged to Hammaker, and you close the books on him. He gave up 3 runs.
And they're back at, as far as second and short, nobody out. Coleman, obviously a tough man to double up. The ground ball, they should get the tying run in.
4-3 San Francisco in the 7th. 3 consecutive hits. Oquendo, Ford, and Dreesen.
I would believe, then, that they'd use the contact play where as soon as that ball's hit, they're going to bust that guy in from third. Nick Lavia is over there talking to him. I mean, really jabbering.
Down in the Cardinal bullpen, Ken Daly with his windbreaker on is coming into the dugout, and Todd Worrell is now throwing. 1 ball and no strikes. The Cardinals have had 8 hits in the last 2 innings plus. Remember, there's nobody out here in the 7th. And there goes Lance Johnson. The pitch outside. Brenly's throw not in time and in the dirt. And now the Cardinals have runners at second and third and nobody out.
And the possibility to double play is eliminated. The Cardinal speed pays off on that play. You see, Brenly, he's got a pretty good ball to handle. Looked the runner back at third, stopped him, but it took something off his throw. And Robbie Thompson had to make a pretty good play to keep it in the infield. And now the infield moves in to choke that run off at the plate.
So first base open. And Vince Coleman with the count. 2 balls and no strikes. And Ozzie Smith to follow. Ford at third, Johnson at second. Nobody out. A strike on the outside corner, 2-1. Giants have led all the way, 3-0, 4-0, 4-2, and now 4-3. Coleman, 3 ground balls. Twice Kevin Mitchell took hits away from him. The outfield shaded to left. Little chopper up along third, and it's going to be a foul ball. Forget all about it. It's a foul ball. Dave Pallone, the plate umpire, called it foul immediately. That's all you had to do. Not Bob Engel. It was Dave Pallone who immediately called it foul. A good call, and right away.
He's got from home plate to third base, and he didn't hesitate to call it.
It was already called foul by then.
Right, yes, it was. And you could see it. There you see Pallone. I mean, there was no doubt about it. And the Cardinals on the contact send the runner in, knowing that Coleman would at least get to second base in the ensuing rundown.
All right, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Bob Engel is the third base umpire, and Dave Pallone called it immediately. So back to third goes Kurt Ford. Back to second goes Lance Johnson. The infield is still up. The outfield is still swung way around the left. Well, perhaps an indication they're trying to keep the ball away on Coleman. And Leonard much closer to the line than normal with a left-hand hitter up. 2-2. And that's hit up the middle. In comes Ford. Here comes Johnson. And the Cardinals lead 5-4.
And now with Coleman on at first base, they can do a lot of things. And that Cardinal bench, that home run by Lindemann, really woke them up, and they have just taken the lead. What a story we're seeing here tonight.
4 consecutive hits, 3 in a row against relief pitcher Don Robinson. And Vince Coleman, trying to make contact, drills it just under Robinson's glove, over second, a dive by Thompson. Now Milner comes up with a handful of baseball and grass, but nowhere to throw it. 5-4 St. Louis. Big man out of West Virginia, Don Robinson, who had been a mainstay of the Giant bullpen ever since coming over to San Francisco, but not tonight, as he gives up 3 hits, 2 runs, and the Cardinals lead 5-4. Vince Coleman at first base, and remember, nobody out. Craig Lefferts, the new pitcher on the mound, and a new daddy. Craig Lefferts, the third Giant pitcher. His wife Wendy delivered their first child, Brock, bouncing baby boy, October 2nd.
You know, it's a matter of time with Coleman, and with Ozzie Smith in that batter's box, they can do a lot of things. In fact, they said that Coleman will make you a one-eyed hitter, one eye on a pitcher and one eye on him, because he'll disrupt that infield, obviously.
Ozzie 2 for 3 tonight. And he bunts. Down to get it is Kevin Mitchell, and can't make a play. So that would be 5 consecutive singles by the Cardinals. And it's like, again, being eaten to death by an angry moth. They just nibble here and nibble there.
I tell you, it's not a loud rally, but when you look at the scoreboard, it's 5-4 Cardinals, nobody out, base runners at first and second. You got your best hitter up there, Tommy Herr. You take a step and you're going to collapse, and you didn't even feel him biting you.
Remarkable. 10 hits for the Cardinals in 2 innings plus. And a Giant team that appeared to be sky high at the end of 3 innings when they led 4-0. They have come crashing to earth. And it's the Cardinals, with a team that had been decimated by injuries, even to the extent of losing Terry Pendleton before the game. And Herzog has seen the Birds come back. 5-4 St. Louis, and Tommy Herr the batter. And the Giants are looking bunt with Herr. Both Clark and Mitchell are up. 5 consecutive hits and 10 hits in 2 innings plus. That's something. Tommy Herr flied to center, aboard on an error, flied to center again. And he bunts on the chalk and kicks foul, 0-1. Tommy Herr, during the course of the regular year, had 4 sacrifices and a dozen scoring fly balls.
The Giants obviously have all kinds of plays. As you can see, they're all looking in. Robbie Thompson's looking in. Will Clark is looking in as they try to set something up. And Robbie Thompson is the quarterback in that infield. He has just flashed a sign to Kevin Mitchell as to what kind of defense they're going to use.
The count to Tommy Herr. Coleman at second, Smith at first. And he got the bunt down. Good bunt. Lefferts has to go to Clark. And the runners move up. That's the first. But there are Cardinals at second and third, 1 down. And Jim Lindemann will be the batter.
And I think the key play in this whole inning was Dreesen not bunting. Forget that he got the base hit. That was a decision that Whitey had to make. If he hits the ground ball double play, they second-guess him from here to Easter Sunday. But he let him hit, gets the base hit, and that decision will get lost in the box scores. But it was a big one.
Big hit by Danny Dreesen, who was batting for Bob Forsch. So now second and third, one out, and Jim Lindeman trying to pick somebody up. Coleman down the line from third. Foul ball off to the right, out of play. So Coleman and Smith at second and third. One out in the seventh. The Giants had a 3-run second inning. The Cardinals are enjoying a 3-run seventh, and they don't look like they're finished. When the Giants come up in the bottom of the seventh, top of the order, Thompson, Mitchell, and Leonard. Oh, 0-1. Infield moving up. 1 ball, 1 strike. In looking at Lindeman's numbers to try and get an insight into a man, he had 4 scoring fly balls. And he struck out a little over 20% of the time. 1 ball, 1 strike. And he hits a fly ball to left. Coming up is Leonard. Tagging is Coleman. The catch. Here comes Coleman. Good throw to the plate, but he scores, and over to third.
Lindeman batting fourth. Before the game, talking to the writers, they thought Pena might bat fourth because he's got a little bit of sock, although he hadn't been hitting. But Whitey had Lindeman in there, and it certainly has paid off. He's been uncanny.
3 RBIs. So now you have Ozzie Smith at third, trying to put more heat on, and Willie McGee the batter. So actually, the only 2 outs in the inning are not official at-bats. A sacrifice and a scoring fly ball after 5 consecutive hits and a stolen base. Fouled away. 0-1.
I'll tell you, the little things that mean so much. Dreesen allowed to hit. Lindeman batting fourth. All paid off for Whitey.
Boy, you're really on a roll when you get 5 consecutive hits on the road and behind in the 7th inning. 1 ball, 1 strike.
But we talked about it earlier, then. The ball club just can't say, hey, we don't have the guys here. You got to play, and that's what the professionals do. And I tell you, this guy's done some job.
You talk about the first game when it looked like Danny Cox couldn't pitch, they were going to lose. That's the one they won.
Right.
Now tonight, when it looks like they're going to lose, they've come from behind. Ball 2, 2-1 to Willie McGee.
So far, it's been the first game you'd have to favor the Giants and the Cardinals.
Sure.
Then Tudor comes back, you got to favor the Cardinals, and that's the one they lose.
And
tonight,
4-0 tonight, you don't think the Cardinals are in it?
With no firepower.
Oh, it's going to be a great series, I think, before it's finished. 2-1 to Willie McGee. Ground ball to short. Uribe cranks up to get him. They leave Ozzie Smith, but that's about all they left on the table. 4 big runs for Whitey's gang, and at the end of 6.5, 6-4, St. Louis.
The 1987 World Series with a copy of the official World Series program. With more than 90 pages of facts and figures, it's a real collector's item. To order your souvenir program, just send check or money order for $6 to World Series Program, Post Office Box 87, Trenton, New Jersey.
Later tonight, following your local news, The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson, Johnny's guest, Alexander Paul, Patrick Swayze, Saturday Night Live's A. Whitney Brown, followed by Late Night with David Letterman, David's guest, Howard Stern, plus viewer mail. But right now, let's get to the bottom of the 7th. 6-4 Cardinals. Robbie Thompson, ball 1. Todd Worrell is the new pitcher, batting 9th. Kurt Ford, who batted for Tom Lawless, is in right field, batting 8th. And Jose Aquindo, who was in right field, is now at third base. Cardinals 6, Giants 4 in the 7th. Thompson, Mitchell, and Leonard. Hit down the line, foul, out of play. Todd Worrell, who was throwing in the high 90s in the Greg Matthews game, but he had trouble and had to come out. He was relieved by Ken Daly. In that game, he gave up a single to Leonard and a double to Maldonado. He'll be pitching to them in this inning. Ball 2 to Robbie Thompson. Walked twice, grounded out. 0 for 1. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Cardinals. 4 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. Bottom of the 7th. Time, ball loose. To show you what kind of a pitcher Worrell is, he has made 4 pitches. 95, 96 miles an hour, another 96, and then that last one was a change. It was only 90.
Got to drop it. The difference has got to be a little more than that, or you can just turn it up a notch with that bat.
Chopper foul, and it's still 2-2. The Giants had 2 doubles and a single, plus a wild pitch for 3 runs in the 2nd inning. Jeffrey Leonard homered in the 3rd, and they were breezing 4-0. But Jim Lindemann hit a 2-run home run in the 6th that appeared to ignite and wake up the Cardinal team, who then came roaring back for 4 in the 7th to take the lead. Fastball got him. Strikeout number 1 for Todd Worrell. That's a defensive maneuvering by Whitey here in the 7th inning. Ford and right, Akindo moving to 3rd, Lawless out of the game, Worrell the pitcher. Kevin Mitchell, fly to center, grounded to 3rd, single to right. 0-1. Remember, in the 5th inning, and in a sense, that's when the game started to change. In the bottom of the 5th, the Giants had the bases loaded and 1 out, leading 4-0. They had a chance to break the game wide open, and they didn't do it. That's when Chili Davis popped to short, and Will Clark flied to right. And almost inspired by the escape, the Cardinals came back with 2 and then 4 to take the lead. Ball 3, and guess who's on deck? And everybody in San Francisco is well aware of it. To Kevin Mitchell. In there. Letter high, 3-1. So McGrain has nothing to do with it. Hammaker has nothing to do with it. The pitcher of records right now are Bob Force and Don Robinson. Hit to center. McGee. A big at bat because now Jeffrey Leonard does not represent the tying run. 2 down. And since loading the bases on the era given to Tommy Herr, the Giants have gone down 7 in a row.
And when Worrell went for the out on that last pitch, it was 97, which is the hardest one he has thrown so far. He doesn't fool around. He just gets the ball and throws it hard. And the danger of that is, as I said before, that batter will just turn it up a notch and really light into it.
I can't imagine standing at home plate trying to hit a ball going 97 miles an hour. I mean, it's like the national debt. It's beyond my mind to comprehend. Leonard is grounded out, homered, and then was hit by a pitch in the 5th inning. Ground ball to the hole. Backhanded by Ozzie, who makes the play and got him. That's the play. He had the ball go through his legs in St. Louis, but not in San Francisco. 6-4 Cards.
When the Wizard came to bat, everything was going against the Cards, but they have fought back to take the lead. Ozzie Smith, by the way, has led the way with 3 base hits. The Cards scored 2 in the top of the 6th on a Jim Lindemann homer to make it 4-2. They then took the lead with 4 runs in the top of the 7th inning. Dan Dreesen, pinch hitting, got a base hit to make it 4-3. Then Vince Coleman, a clutch hit, a single up the middle to make it 5-4. His 2 runs came through. Lindemann then came through with his 3rd RBI of the evening on a sacrifice fly to make it 6-4. So Jim Lindemann, who hit .208 on the season, inserted into the cleanup spot, has 3 of the Cardinals' 6 RBIs, and they now lead 6-4. Todd Worrell has just retired the Giants in the bottom of the 7th, so the game is now in the top of the 8th, and the Redbirds leading 6-4. That's the way it is right now.
3rd in 3 games in the series, and San Fran led 4-0 heading to the 6th inning. Jim Lindemann, who's had a quiet bat all year long, broke loose, hit a 2-run homer to the opposite field to make it a 4-2 game. And then it was Dan Dreesen pinch hitting to drive in Jose Oquendo. And then the hit that put the Cardinals ahead in the 7th inning, Vince Coleman, a 2-run single up the middle, scoring Johnson and Ford, and the Cardinals led 5-4. Lindemann a sac fly to make it 6-4, and that's where we are right now, 6-4 in the top half of the 8th inning. Todd Worrell is in there in relief. Very quickly to go back earlier in the game, Joe McGrain came out, was very ineffective, but thank goodness he was...
With Dan Dreesen. Let's take another look at that play where he slides on his right knee. Now this is tonight. And he gets his man, Jeffrey Leonard. Now here it is on...
He throws that one he threw off balance. This one, same play. In fact, he had more time on that one, Vince.
Sure did.
And just didn't come up with it. Now, I don't believe on the artificial surface he gets Leonard's ball. But you know, this picture, I think, is a poignant one because Danny Dreesen sat there and Ozzie Smith started talking to him, patting him as if to say, you're the guy that got it going for us. And it was a big hit.
And he had the big at-bat in the 7th inning. So now we go to the 8th. Cardinals 6, Giants 4. It's a single game that's almost a doubleheader as Mike Lacoste comes in. It was all Giants for 5 innings, and it's been Cardinals since. 0-1 to Tony Pena. It'll be Pena, Oquendo, and Ford. One ball and no strikes. Little pop fly back of first. Clark goes back, and Robbie Thompson comes over to handle it. One away. Candlestick Park opened in April of 1960. The second oldest park in the National League. And on a beautiful evening. It is not a typical Candlestick night. There is a light breeze that is just starting to ripple the flags in center field. But it is not the tricky, almost hated wind by players who come here during the year. Jose Oquendo grounded out, flied out, and singled. Breaking ball strike.
I asked Oquendo if he was kind of patterning himself after Rod Carew. He says, no, Cecil Cooper. He said, I'm Rod Carew with power.
Remember, he's a guy who hits better when he plays the outfield. When you break down his average, he hit .301 as an outfielder, .254 as an infielder. So it's natural his last at bat as an outfielder, he got a base hit. 1-1. Breaking ball, chopper to Robbie Thompson, trying to time the hop, takes care of him. 2 down in the 8th inning. And Curt Ford coming up. If you're not keeping score and you wonder about the Giants in the bottom of the 8th, they'll have Candy Maldonado, then Eddie Milner. Remember, he took over when the Giants led 4-0 for Chili Davis. So Maldonado, Milner, and Clark. Curt Ford came off the bench to bat for Lawless and single to center. In fact, he had the first hit against Don Robinson and scored the tying run. Right. To count to Curt Ford. A reminder, a very, very busy day on NBC tomorrow. Sure hope you'll join us. The American League at 1 o'clock, then the fight, and then right here back at Candlestick for Game 4. Danny Coxon, Mike Krukow. Cardinals 6, Giants 4, top of the 8th. 2-1. Mike Lacoste. Tall and lean. He's 6'4". He's from Visalia and lives in Georgia. 2-1. Ball 3. Lacoste both started and relieved and wound up with 13 victories. A splitter.
Splitter.
3-1. Here's ball 4. So a 2-out walk to Kurt Ford. Interesting, in looking at the Cardinal lineup tonight, we're in the 8th inning. That is the first base on balls given to a Cardinal hitter.
Roger Craig teaches his pitcher to always have that split finger grip because you can change it to a fastball in the glove easier than you can go from, say, a fastball grip to a split finger.
Todd Worrell coming up with 2 out, 6-4 Cardinals in the 8th. And Ford at first base held on by Will Clark. Ball 1. You certainly don't expect Ford to do any running at all, because if he is out, then you have your pitcher leading off the 9th, and Whitey doesn't want that. 1-0 to Todd Worrell. Then McGrain, Forsch, and Worrell. Fouled away. The Giants have used Hamaker, Robinson, Lefferts, and now Lacoste. Todd Worrell didn't get too many opportunities to swing the bat. He only had 10 at bats all year. He went 1 for 10 and struck out half the time. Strike 2. I think that's a pretty good line on most pitchers. If they strike out half the time, they're really pitching. If they strike out less than half, they can be a problem.
He's got a chance to add to his strikeout record here.
1 ball and 2 strikes.
Third ball. Looks like anything.
Toss off the rubber. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Cardinals, 4 runs, 5 hits for the Giants. Game 3. Worrell from down south in Arcadia, California. Got him on the outside corner, and that rings up Worrell. No runs, no hits, a man left. And at the end of 7.5, 6-4, St. Louis. This telecast presented by authority of Major League Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. And the largest baseball crowd ever to see a game at Candlestick, 57,913, spurred on by the opening theme of the William Tell Overture. And now Candy Maldonado, Eddie Milner, and Will Clark, bottom of the 8th, 6-4 St. Louis. Strike. Maldonado slashed one back at McGrain, who made a fine play in the first inning, grounded out, and was aboard on the error charge to Tommy Herr in the 5th inning. That was the last Cardinal mistake, and it was also the last Giant to reach. 8 in a row retired since Herr's error. And that's the turning point in the game, when the Giants had the bases loaded and failed to score in the 5th inning. Popped up in foul ground. Pena and Lindeman. Lindeman is calling. 1 away in the 8th. So Jim Lindeman takes Maldonado's foul ball, and Eddie Milner, who came in to take over for Chili Davis when the Giants were leading 4-0 to shore up the defense, now is asked to do something offensively.
He loses a little bit of firepower. You're trying to pick up that defense, and the Cardinals going ahead. You wish that bat was back in there.
So here's Milner with Will Clark on deck. And, of course, with Clark's home run stroke, the Giants are hoping that somehow Milner will get aboard so that Will would then represent the tying run. And down in the Cardinal bullpen, Ken Daly is at it again. 1 ball and no strikes. Ball 2. So there's Ken Daly. He was up once, warmed up, put on his windbreaker, came into the Cardinal dugout, and now he's gone back down there. 2-0. In there. 2-1. Danny Cox and Mike Krukow tomorrow night. Game 4. Ball 3. Strike 2. So a full count to Milner. Boy, what a big at-bat this is with Clark on deck.
You see, he had him taken 3-1. He wants to try to get that base on balls.
3-2. Got him. So Milner strikes out. 2 down. That's strikeout number 2 for Todd Worrell. Here's how he did it. As Will Clark comes up with the bases empty.
It's just pure power, rearing back and firing. Throw as hard as you can for as long as you can.
All right, 2 down, bases empty. That's 10 in a row retired since the 5th inning. Will Clark is singled, struck out, and flied to right. Cardinals in the 9th inning will have the top of the order: Coleman, Smith, and Herr. 1-1.
If you think Worrell is a finesse pitcher, your set's not working because every pitch he has thrown has been over 90 miles an hour.
Yeah, off speed is 90.
That's the slowest.
1-1. 1-2. Foul ball at the plate.
If he would ever throw a slow curveball, I think the hitter's shoes would break from trying to keep that body in them.
And the catcher would probably be decapitated reaching out in front of the hitter to catch it. He'd fool everybody. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Watching Pena give the signs reminds me of when they give signs to knuckleball pitchers. You know, what for? You know what you're going to get. But Worrell is really throwing hard, and his ball certainly has some movement on it.
And there's a drive into right field, and this one is good. Playing the carom is Ford, and hustling into second is Clark. He came within a foot of clearing the right field wall, and appropriately enough, that is the area in honor of Willie Mays.
He's looking at it, and he hit a sinker, and you really have to hit that ball hard to hit a sinker that far. I mean, it was sinking all the way, and he was within a foot and a half going over, and not a bad throw in from to the relay man to make it fairly close. Watch this ball sink. It's going down, and boy, it was close.
Very close. As you can see, some of the great Giant names in the past, and they will never be forgotten, with Willie Mays, number 24. And so it goes with Hubble 11, Ott 4, Terry 3, and then for 2 men when they didn't wear numbers, Christy Mathewson and John McGraw. And in the right field corner, Juan Marichal and Willie McCovey. So a 2-out double, and here is Bob Brenly. Brenly has doubled in 3 trips. Ball 1. So you can see how important the at-bats were for Maldonado and Milner for someone to get aboard for Clark to drive in. And with the bases empty, he doubles high off the right field wall. 1-0 to Brenly. 2-0.
He challenged Clark, and he lost.
Two balls and no strikes to Bob Brenly. 2-1. Brenly, during the regular year, 18 home runs, 51 RBIs. He doubled home Clark in the 2nd inning. Two and 1. 2-2. That seems like a breaking ball. It just seems to dart at the last minute.
His ball has had movement on it.
Boy.
But I tell you, his fastball in 95, 96, 97 is so close. I mean, you can just kind of crank it up. It seems like what they're able to do. But that last one, you can see it move. And it's hard.
So Brenly, who has had 7 at-bats in the league championship series and struck out 4 of the 7. And I'm sure he feels like he has his back to the wall with a 2-ball, 2-strike count. And this huge crowd hoping that somehow the Giants can come back. Got him. And for Brenly, that's the 5th time he's gone down on strikes. Worrell has struck out 3. They leave Clark, and it's 6-4 St. Louis. The 1987 National League Championship Series has been brought to you. It is 6-4 St. Louis as we go to the 9th inning. For the Cardinals, Vince Coleman, Ozzie Smith, and Tommy Herr. And in the bottom of the 9th inning, the Giants are due to send up Jose Uribe, then Lacoste, and then Robbie Thompson. Vince Coleman is 1 for 4, but what a big hit. It was his single that drove home the 3rd run of the 7th inning, the go-ahead run to give the Cardinals a 5-4 lead. And then he eventually came around to score on a fly ball to give them the 6-4 lead.
Regardless of the outcome, Vin, these Cardinals, they show you what they're made of.
It's amazing how down they appeared, how much out of the game. And it's David and Goliath again.
That's what it is.
The club without the power comes scratching back. And the club that had muscled its way to a 4-0 lead stopped dead in the water in the 5th inning when the Giants had the bases loaded and 1 out and didn't score. And suddenly, after the reprieve, it's been all St. Louis. 1 ball, 1 strike. Ball 2.
I tell you, when you said David and Goliath, you could go to the storybooks. I mean, it's the tortoise and the hare. Giants jumped out, looked like that, and they just kept going along, going along, going along.
Yeah, the 2 big points, I guess, the inability of the Giants to score in the 5th and the home run by Jim Lindeman in the 6th. That just changed the whole ballgame around. 3-1 to count to Vince Coleman. 57,913, the largest crowd to ever see a baseball game here. Remember, Candlestick is also the home of the 49ers. 3-1. Way high. So the Cardinals have received 2 walks tonight, both from Lacoste, who now must work on Ozzie Smith, somehow try to hold Coleman. And Gordy McKenzie upstairs talking to Bob Lillis, who is relaying the defensive alignment to the outfield.
Rogers swings into action.
Ozzie is single flied out and then 2 more singles. So he is 3 for 4. And all of a sudden, they're not chanting his name anymore. Ball 1.
Boy, as he's staring down at his 3rd base coach, he wants to know what's going on. They usually give Coleman at least 1 pitch to steal. He's got himself a pretty good lead. They can do a lot of things if we look at Nick Lavia.
Vince Coleman with 109 stolen bases during the regular year. 1-0. Coleman looking for his first opportunity to steal a base in the League Championship Series. And he bluffs on the bunt. Down to get it is Lacoste, who throws it close to the runner, and Clark can't hold on to it. And the Cardinals have runners at 2nd and 3rd. And let's see now, Dave Pallone.
They're claiming interference.
Oh, I see what he's saying, that on the bunt, Smith was running inside the foul line and not in the lane. And Leva's arguing, Pallone is saying no. Nick Leva and Rich Hacker, along with Tommy Herr and Whitey Herzog. And Herzog has sent the players away. He will carry it to Dave Pallone himself. And he's sending Coleman back to first and calling Smith out. running inside the line. He was not in the lane. Anytime you go to a ballpark, you'll notice the parallel lines halfway from home plate to first base. And he did not run in the lane. That's why the throw was so difficult for Will Clark to handle.
Whitey is really wound up about it, and
I can't believe it, he said. So it's in the books. Ozzie Smith is out for interference, running inside the foul line, and Vince Coleman goes back to first. So instead of second and third and nobody out, there's one out and a runner at first. You see where he is? Inside the foul line. You have to stay inside the lane, and he wasn't in the lane. And it was a good call by Dave Pallone.
Yeah, he's got to run in that 3-foot line, and you can see it made a tough play, and Pallone called it right now and obviously correctly.
I tell you, Dave has made two calls immediately, and he's been right both times and under great pressure.
And he called that one strike, remember, on a bunt that Coleman argued about. There was a little bit of a discussion about. So he's had a good night behind the plate.
So Tommy Herr is the hitter. Ball one, 1-0. Just for the third and last time. See where the runner is. Inside the foul line. He wasn't even close to the lane. So Ozzie's out.
Watch Coleman.
Tommy Herr 0 for 3 with a sacrifice.
Double pitch out.
2-0.
So Roger evens up. He called two of them right. Now he's called it twice and it hadn't happened.
And that's tough because remember, Lacoste is the only pitcher to walk two batters. So they put a little load on him. 2 balls and no strikes to Tommy Herr. Price and Garrelts in the bullpen. Six runs, 11 hits, 1 error for the Cardinals. 4 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for the Giants. We're in the top of the 9th. Uribe, Lacoste's spot, and Thompson due up in the bottom of the 9th. If you'd like to wonder about the available hitters for Roger Craig, the left-hand batters, Harry Spillman and Mike Aldretti. Tell you a fellow the Giants will miss in this series, Joel Youngblood, who is out with a broken hand. There goes Coleman, but the pitch fouled back. 2-1. So Coleman, who's been on base twice tonight with a base hit and now a walk, he's driven in 2 and scored 1. So Vince has been very busy. Still looking for a stolen base.
He doesn't have to look for a sign. He's got the green light whenever he wants to go. Whenever he wants to go.
2-1. Ground ball hit slowly to Uribe. He shovels to Robbie Thompson. The throw to first. Double play, and Leiva's going to be hot about. I should say Hacker is going to be hot along with Tommy Herr.
Herr thought he had it beat.
6-4-3 double play. 6-4 Cardinals. Bottom of the 9th. Tommy Herr was angry.
Okay. Here's that shovel by Uribe to Robbie Thompson. And hard to tell there.
Well, wait till we see it from another angle and freeze it. Look where the ball is.
The ball is there, so it looks like Herr's foot is on the bag like he was saved. Greg missed it.
However, 6-4 St. Louis in the bottom of the 9th inning. Tommy Herr was angry. Ozzie Smith, meanwhile, stopped on his way out to short to talk to Dave Pallone. And Herzog was worried to death that Ozzie was going to argue, and he came racing out of the dugout. But Ozzie was just having a chat with Pallone on that interference call when Ozzie was running inside the foul line. But it was not an argument. It was a very level-headed conversation.
Oh, that's a great explanation. He said, you're right on the line. If you move to the right, you're all right, but you were right on the line.
Now, bottom of the 9th inning. Jose Uribe, Mike Aldretti, and Robbie Thompson, although among others, Harry Spillman was loosening up in the dugout. Ball one. This crowd of 57,913 has not really had a chance to make any noise since the 5th inning. How about that? Boy, is that an impressive sentence.
It really is.
1-1.
These Giants, the way they jumped out, looked like it was going to be over early.
Never allowed a run in the 9th inning. 1-1. By the way, with the Cardinals down 4-0 and now take the lead 6-4, if the Cardinals hold on to it, it will equal the biggest comeback in National League Championship Series last year. The Mets in Game 3 were down 4-0 and came back to beat Houston 6-5. 1-2 to Uribe. And he hits a little pop fly into shallow right, and Ford is right there. 1 down.
He really had him played shallow because they were going to come inside.
Mike Aldretti coming up. We have a moment to remind you, our executive producer of NBC Sports, Michael Weitzman, coordinating producer of NBC Baseball, Harry Coyle. Tonight's game produced by George Finkel, directed by Bucky Gunn. The pregame produced by Steve Dans, directed by Richard Klein. And don't forget, following the game, stay tuned for local news except on the West Coast. So here is Mike Aldretti. Born in Carmel, went to Stanford. So a local hero. Strike. It's a typical ball player's nickname. If you go into the Giant clubhouse, they call him Mario. You know why? Mario Andretti. So somebody decided to change his name, and that's his nickname. 0-1. Fouled away.
They don't call Tim Wallach Tim. It's Eli.
Yeah, right.
Ball players are different.
Todd Worrell. By any other name, quite a pitcher. And he has to count 0-2 on Mike Aldretti, who hit .325 during the regular year. 9 home runs, 51 RBI. 0-2. And got him. So Worrell picks up his 4th strikeout. And with 2 down in the 9th inning, tonight's NBC Miller Lite player of the game is Jim Lindeman. Miller Lite happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of Jim Lindeman to the National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Lindeman, who hit a 2-run home run in the 6th inning and had a scoring fly ball to drive in his 3rd, certainly was the spark. And now Harry Spillman is coming up to bat for Robbie Thompson. So Roger Craig led 4-0 and looked like he had a lock on it. And the Cardinals came to life, and it would appear have flown away with a 6-4 lead.
They just moved Willie McGee in center field. He was in left center field. They want him straight away and to move in. There you see Nick Lavia.
1-0 the count to Spillman. Spillman hitting .267 during the year. He had a home run and 14 runs batted in. Strike.
It's really something to watch those coaches. They set the defense, and then Shane Deans, who is motioning them. He wants him back. He's calling time because of something on the field in right field. And he just motioned to the infielders. Spillman cannot run. Just take your time, make the play.
Tell you can't run. He went over 7 years without a stolen base. Got a stolen base this year, the end of April against the Cubs. And they immediately took him out for a pinch runner.
Wow, that was bad.
1-1 the count to Harry Spillman. Ball 2. Kevin Mitchell on deck. 2 out in the 9th. 6-4 Cardinals. Ball 3. And of course a big at bat for Spillman to let Mitchell have a chance as the tying run.
Tell you one thing about Spillman, he stays ready. He says from the 5th inning on, he's on that bench gearing up. And there you see Mike Rourke follow through, come into that throw. Motioning to Worrell.
3-1 to Harry Spillman. In there. 3-2. Remember, he went 3-1 on Milner with Will Clark on deck. Went 3-2 and then struck him out, and Clark followed with a near miss home run, and it settled for a double. So now Now 3-1. They had Spillman taken, and here is 3-2. And there's a high fly ball into deep right center. Back goes Ford. Back goes McGee. It's gone. Spillman jumped on a 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and after hitting 1 home run all year, he hits it out, and Mike Rourke going to the mound. Cardinals 6, Giants 5, and here's another look as Ford goes to the fence and runs out of room.
Nothing he can do. And you can throw that 95, 96, but what the ball players say, well, I'll just turn it up a notch. And I know, talking to Harry, he said from the 5th inning on, I just get ready for that one AB, that one time at bat.
You know, to give you an idea of the kind of drama here at Candlestick Park, here Spillman comes off the bench to hit a home run, and the Giants are down by 1. Kevin Mitchell is the hitter, and on deck is the one man the Cardinals don't want to see, and that would be Jeffrey Leonard. Harry Spillman, a dramatic pinch hit, 2-out home run in the 9th, but the hack man has to get Mitchell on before he can come up. Fouled away. 6 runs, 11 hits for the Cardinals, 5 runs, 7 hits for the Giants. The Giants have hit 2 home runs, Leonard and Spillman. The Cardinals 1 home run, Jim Lindemann. 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Ball 2, 2-1. Back. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 out in the 9th. Craig has gotten to within 1. It is 6-5 St. Louis. So that 9th inning run shatters that staggering stat we had about the Cardinals not allowing a 9th inning run. 2-2 to Mitchell. High fly ball into left center. McGee says he has it. And the Cardinals have won game 3 to go 1 up on the Giants. 6 runs, 11 hits, 1 error for the Cardinals. 5 runs, 7 hits, and 1 error for the Giants. The winning pitcher would be Bob Forsch. The loser would be Don Robinson, and Todd Worrell would get a save. And the Cardinals down 4-0, turn it around to pull it out in Candlestick. What a finish.
It really was a big finish, and that fellow right there has got to get a lot of credit, Whitey Herzog, because I tell you, it didn't look like he had a chance.
We'll be right back to Candlestick after this. The youngster who batted 4th for St. Louis for only the 2nd time this year, he hit 4th in April, is the man of the moment, Jim Lindemann. Let's go to Marv Albert.
All right, Vin, thank you. And for Jim Lindemann, a long way back, disappointing injury-hit rookie year, but this one had to be feel good as the spark with the home run and 3 RBI.
Definitely felt real good. It's probably the biggest it ever had, and it definitely has been a tough rookie year, but if we can come out of here and get to the World Series, everything will be great.
In fact, Atley Hammaker was just coasting along, appeared to be an easy win, and you put a stop to that.
Yeah, he had good stuff today, had good control, and haven't hit the ball very well lately, and you know, I was just lucky to get one up in a wind here, and it carried.
Surprised you hit?
No, not really. Whitey told me yesterday, without Jack, we need somebody in the 4th hole that can drive in some runs, and I'm glad I did it today.
And obviously, the conditions at Candlestick did not bother the Cardinals tonight because it was a clutch come from behind victory.
Yeah, no, not tonight. It was a nice night out here.
What is your reaction to some of the tactics of Jeffrey Leonard? Once again, a little showboating as he rounded the bases after hitting the home run.
Well, that's the way he is, I guess. I don't really know the man, and we don't do that with the Cardinals, and, you know, I don't know. That's one person's, you know, perception of the way it happens. I don't know. He's just going out there and doing his thing, and we're not going to do that.
All right, for Jim Lindemann, there have been a number of big hits this season, but none bigger than tonight. Let's get back to Vin and Joe.
Well, friends, due to the length of tonight's game, the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson will not be seen. Stay tuned following local news for Late Night with David Letterman, except on the West Coast and most mountain stations. For Joe Garagiola, Vin Scully saying so long from San Francisco. Cardinals 6, Giants 5.